Maybe I'll send you them and tell them I know that you have
Give everybody 1 minute instead of 3 or something.
There's 3 that
filled out speaker cards. I went through there and someone else validated.
As I always do. That's good.
If this goes south,
I know. You warned us.
we're blaming you. I warned you.
We're not having like a full-blown retirement party. We're already in our lunch next week, so in some sense, it's honoring 19 years worth of effort. So if we get a couple extra minutes, it's life, I think.
Okay.
Good.
I have luggage today. I apologize. Like a piece of I had to steal this birthday. Oh, the handshake. Okay, go get my
The unknown council member.
I was nervous. I thought you were in the bathroom. I'm like, we're going to
Trying to hustle the renovation work. You've never been out there.
Johnette was doing it at Supplements last night, so
Good.
I appreciate your help.
Thank you. When I have a chance, I freak out over it. I'm getting so damn busy, I don't have time to freak out until late at night, so I can't sleep. But it's good advice. I wanted to get her a set. And I didn't get I'll get it before she leaves. I just won't have the good press for it. All right.
Good evening, everyone. I know we're all socializing, saying bye to Jen, all those things. But good evening, everyone. I'll call to order tonight's regular City Council meeting for April 15, 2025. And if you will, if you can, please rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, can you do a roll call, please?
Councilmember Brando Cruz.
Here.
Councilmember Melissa Lamatina. Here. Councilmember David Oro.
Here.
Vice Mayor Mark Joseph.
Here.
Mayor Pierre Washington.
I'm here. We'll report on closed session, confirmation, and reportable actions. Mr. Ross?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council,
Your council convened in open session at 5 p.m. and after ascertaining that there were no public comments on the matters agendized for closed session consideration, adjourned to closed session to address those matters. You also, by unanimous vote, added a matter to existing litigation as 2E. It involves the City of American Canyon and has a case number of 25 CV 000776. With respect to all those matters covered, there will be a written report upon return from closed session under the provisions of Government Code Section 54957.1B. You concluded closed session at 6:29. So that would conclude the report, subject to the written report I referenced. If there are any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Any questions from council? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Ross. Moving on to proclamations and presentations, I'd like to ask for Jennifer Kassenbach. Where are you? Are you standing? Are you sitting? Well, we have honor. We're going to honor you with a proclamation this evening. Just wanted to say hello. Did you need to move your thing down a little bit? There you go.
Hi.
Okay.
Good evening.
All right. So we have two proclamations. This is one of two, and we're honoring you, Jennifer, for 18 years of dedicated service. Whereas Jennifer Kassenbach answered to the call to serve the nation by enlisting in the United States Navy in December 1994, continuing her service in the United States Naval Reserve until receiving an honorable discharge in 2024, or 2004, sorry about that. Whereas Jennifer brought some of the same sense of duty and resilience to the local government, serving Marin County and the city of Napa before joining the City of American Canyon on November 20th, 2006, as an administrative clerk, 2 in the Public Works Department. She was subsequently promoted to Administrative Assistant in 2014, Management Analyst 1 in 2015, and a Management Analyst 2 in 2017, reflecting her outstanding professionalism and deep commitment to public service. And whereas, during her tenure with the City of American Canyon, Jennifer served in 3 departments: Public Works, Parks and Recs, and the City Manager's Office, ultimately becoming the city's communications manager, where she led with integrity, empathy, and vision. And whereas Jennifer was not only a skilled professional, but a connector, a mentor, and a leader who built and nurtured a collaborative network of communicators across the region. She elevated the role of government communications with thoughtfulness, transparency, and strategic foresight, setting a high standard for excellence that continues to inspire colleagues across the jurisdiction. And whereas Jennifer's bond with the American Canyon community ran deep. A resident since 1989, she and her family purchased their first home locally in 2008 with the city's down payment assistance program. She earned her bachelor's degree from California State University, Chico in 2015 with support from the city's tuition reimbursement program. Her family has proudly served in public service, public safety, and in the military, continuing a legacy of service. And whereas Jennifer's leadership as a communications manager helped modernize the city's outreach strategy and expanding communications tool to ensure the community received timely, transparent, and trusted information, especially during moments of uncertainty and crisis. And whereas throughout her 18 years of service, Jennifer exemplified the very best of public service. The role of the government communicator is often misunderstood and underappreciated, requiring not just technical skills, but resilience, empathy, and courage. Jennifer carried this responsibility with grace, becoming a steadfast and trusted voice behind the scenes, an advisor of leaderships and a mentor to many. And whereas her work has left a lasting legacy, not only through programs and policies, but through the relationships she's built and the people she's uplifted along the way. Jennifer showed what it means to lead with compassion, communicate with clarity, and serve with heart. Now, therefore, I, Pierre Washington, on behalf of the City Council and the community of the American Canyon, do hereby recognize and honor Jennifer Kassenbach upon her retirement and express our deepest gratitude for her loyalty, generosity, and impactful service to the city over the last 18 years. Your contributions have shaped this community for the better, and your impact will be felt long after your final day. Congratulations on your job well done and your retirement, my friend.
Well, I'm really glad that I wrote something. Can I say something now?
You most certainly can. The floor
Okay.
is yours.
So hi, everyone. I had to write this because I knew that I would get all over the place like I usually do when I'm presenting, but I'm super grateful that I did this now because that was a lot of emotion that was brought up there, so I really appreciate that. Okay, so hi, everyone. I'm honored to be here tonight. It means a lot to me to be recognized by a community that has been such a large part of my life for so many years. Oh my God, I'm gonna start crying. To the communications team, my present and past colleagues, my neighbors, and my friends, thank you for being a part of my story. Thank you for your kindness, for taking your valuable time to be here tonight, and for allowing me to serve our community. It has been my honor, and I am forever grateful to each of you. Most of all, thank you. Thank you to my family. Your constant support and encouragement have kept me going, and your service dedication makes me very proud. As usual, we're spread out across 4 states tonight, and while I love that, we always make the best of that. And we manage to stay close no matter the distance. I'm very much looking forward to closing that gap a bit and spending more time together in the months and years ahead. And I'm especially grateful for those of you that came tonight to stand in place of my family who couldn't be here. So thank you all very much. And whoever starts crying, like, you suck, because you're making me tear up.
We're going to take a picture with you, but we have a couple of people that want to say something to you tonight. And we don't normally do this during proclamations, but we're going to allow some people to say a few words on your behalf.
Okay.
And then we'll let the council say something as well. Do we have that first person? And you have to
Sorry,
stand
I
up
was
there with
busy
each one of them.
crying.
Stand up here.
You got to stand up there with each and every one of them.
You guys next?
Okay, Pam Phillips.
I'm Pam Phillips. I'm a resident and I'm also a city employee. I met Jennifer 18 years ago. We both were working at the Courtyard, and she asked me how to put paper in the copier. And after that, we've been steadfast friends. So I want to thank her for her service to the city of American Canyon, because all the times that, you know, everybody's doing their own thing and an emergency happens and you get those communications, it's her who's doing it. So thank you for your work and your service to the community, and thank you for being my friend.
Tom Phillips.
Well, hi, Jennifer. Hi, I'm Tom Phillips. I'm also a resident here. I've known Jennifer since about 2006, I think, or 7. She and her husband have been great community members. You don't necessarily see them out and about, but they care very much about this community. We are losing a valuable employee, but really, for a lot of us, we're losing a great friend. We're not actually losing them. They're still going to be in contact, but it's just going to It's going to be different. Being a former employer, I can tell you, and working with Jen over the years, that her loss is truly going to be felt in the city. She is professional, dedicated. She lives here and really puts her heart and soul into this community. So on behalf of myself and my family and anybody else that wants to get behind that, we're going to miss you. You've been great for this community. You've been great for this city. And your friendship, I will always treasure.
Well, you're not ever going to get rid of me, so.
Oh, and she's my roommate at the moment.
Christina Lee.
Good evening, Mayor and Vice Mayor, council members, and the American Canyon community. Originally, I submitted this as an e-comment, but it felt like it was more appropriate to stand up here and read this into record because Jen deserves nothing less. My name is Christina Lee. I am a former colleague of Jen, but now forever friend. So I'm going to just go ahead and read it because I may start crying, and I want to make sure I don't miss anything. I have my sleeve here. When I first arrived in Napa County about a decade ago, Jennifer was the first person that I met in communications and public information space. She didn't just welcome me into this county, she took me under her wing. She had established and was leading what had become the most collaborative and thoughtful and effective group of public communication officers I'd ever encountered in any county I had ever worked in. While the groups has since evolved under new leadership, the foundation that Jen established set the bar high, one that many of us continue to reflect on with deep respect and appreciation. Jennifer wasn't just a communications manager, she was a connector. She is a connector. She's a leader, and above all, she's been a mentor and a dear friend. For the past 19 years, she's exemplified the best of public service. The role of government communicator is one most misunderstood and underappreciated in public life. It requires not just a skill of resilience, empathy, and courage. You're expected to be the guardian of truth and transparency. While navigating competing narratives, political pressures, and crisis after crisis, you are the voice behind the curtain. You are the steady hand during emergencies, and the advisor to leadership and mentor to the next generation of public servants and communicators. And often you are asked to be both the valiant knight and the one who falls on the sword. Jennifer has done all of this with integrity, grace, and unmatched professionalism. She has been a constant North Star in moments of uncertainty. She has served this city and this county, including her country, with humility and heart. And she has left a lasting legacy that not only through her work, but through her relationships that she has built and the people that she has uplifted along the way. Jennifer, thank you for showing us what it means to lead with compassion, to communicate with clarity, and to serve selflessly. Congratulations on your well-earned retirement, and you have more than earned this next chapter in your life, and your impact will be felt long after your final day. Thank you.
That's the last speaker card that I have.
I believe, Valerie, you had something, right? From the chamber.
Hello, I'm Valerie Zizek-Moraes, President CEO of the American Canyon Chamber. I stand up here tonight not just as the Chamber's CEO, but also a friend of Jen. I just want to give her a huge shout out the last 5 years of my collaboration with her at the Chamber and our days through COVID, where communication was everything. Jen was a rock star and an amazing person to collaborate with, work with, and to really be the voice of American Canyon. She does so much work behind the scenes that nobody ever really gets a chance to see. Yes, they read the communication that comes from her, but the decisions, the conversations, when to post, when not to post, and to be that sounding, reliable voice is a huge responsibility and done gratefully by Jen here. I'm honored to say that I've known Jen for close to 18, 19 years in all of my careers here in American Canyon, and she's an amazing person, a true soul, and somebody that will be forever missed here in American Canyon. I'm extremely proud of her for her retirement, and and moving on to her next phase of life. But we will definitely miss the resources, the communications, and the love that Jen brings to American Canyon. So congratulations, Jen. I'm thankful for all of our years and very happy for your next steps.
I actually believe some of our council members have some things to
I
say.
have one more, if that's okay.
What's another?
Supervisor Belia Ramos would like to make a comment.
Oh, boy. I'm going to try not to cry, so you're going to hold my hand so that I don't. When I walked in on my very first day here to serve as your council member in 2010, this woman was not shy and told me I had a lot of work to do. And I thought that was really ballsy. And she never stopped. And I think one of the things, people talk about your communication, but what they haven't talked about is your encouragement and that you are a confidant. You made me a better public servant by, after these meetings, not being afraid to tell me I could have done better or I should have spoken up. You made me a better public servant by becoming part of my safety net when I needed it most. When there were moments that I was not certain I'd be able to make it to a council meeting because of childcare. And your family stepped in to help me serve. That's service in a way that you can't wrap it up and put a bow on the whole package that you are. That you committed to this city, you committed to every person that has sat in that chair, myself included. You never shied away from telling us when we were failing, including telling me when my county staff has not been up to your standards. And I appreciate that. I always have. You're
Totally telling on me right now.
It's okay. You only got like 15 days to go, right? Like, it's fine. We're fine. But that honesty, then your heart that you wear on your sleeve, has served this community in a way that I am incredibly grateful, because we will feel it. From every newsletter that goes out, it has your fingerprints. From every alert message that goes out, it has your fingerprints. From press releases that didn't used to happen and now do, it has your fingerprints. From videos that happen, it has your fingerprints. For those, you made me do some dumb trading cards of some sort in a basketball outfit, and that had your fingerprints on it too. You made us better, and you did it all with your most authentic self, which is what I admire the most about you. And I cannot think of someone more deserving to have this next chapter, to get closer to your babies, because I know how much you've missed being so separated from them. And just look around. This is love for you, and you've been amazing. So thank you for your service.
I think, Mark, you were going to say something?
Well,
Can I talk back to him?
oh yeah, absolutely. Jen, I actually have been spending some time checking out the definitions of words because I wanted to get the right one. And I started with prototypical, which was close but not correct. Quintessential. You represent the most perfect or typical example of a quality or class. You are the quintessential employee. From living in this community, which is always a good thing, being part of that community. I remember the ice cream sodas on National Night Out, and then you quit doing it, and what the heck. That's probably where the plate came in, because you don't mess with somebody's ice cream sodas. but also the career path. I mean, you started off as administrative clerk. You took advantage of the benefits of the city, and you promoted yourself, and you made, you are what every employer wants to point to and say, this is what happens when you apply yourself, when you take advantage of the opportunities, and you were great. So you're that typical employee that excels. You have an incredible positive attitude. You are always a pleasure to be around. You also represent the city, and the community. Knowing that you're going to deal with other people in Napa Valley, or now you're going to go into other states, you will be a fine representation. Anybody who knows you is going to think better of American Canyon. And so in my mind, that meets all the standards of quintessential. And my only regret, frankly, is that I just didn't get a chance to get a plate that was monogrammed so that I could give it to you tonight. But, you haven't left yet, so you never know what you might find in your office. Thank you for being here, and I will miss you.
Thank you, Mark.
Take care.
I actually won't pressure anybody else on the council to say anything, but real quick for me, I just want to say that you're very special to me. One, I love that you served our country. You're one of the first people that I met here in American Canyon that was a female that was in the military. And I admire that, and your husband being in the military and also being on the same ship as I was on several years back. But I love your compassion. I saw her with Vice Mayor Joseph was saying, and even Supervisor Ramos. So you must have a system that you call us all when you're not happy with how we perform behind the dais. So I've been on the receiving end of that as well, but always taken in a way that it was constructive and supportive. Even with the things that people see happening now with the mayor's corner, with the things we're doing with the videos, you came to me to say, hey, you could do this. And then when you told me not to be so stiff and to relax and just show my personality. So thank you, because that has gone a long way, and people make comments to me about how they like it. But I have to reflect and give it back to you, because you're the one that kind of made me feel in my comfort zone to do that. So thank you. So I could go on and on and on, but tonight's not about me, it's about you. And we just want to say, one, for me, I love you. I'm not going to ever stop communicating to you, no matter how far you are, even though you're going to the right coast. So you take care of yourself. But if no one else has anything to say, we want to come up there and take a picture with you and some of the people that made some comments on your behalf, unless you have anything else to say. No?
I like the plate idea, Mark, and I'm really proud of you for taking so much time to find the right words, because I'm always on you about that. That really means a lot.
We have a second proclamation for the Sexual Assault Awareness Month for April 2025. Do we have a recipient for this award? Would you like to introduce yourself before I read it?
Yes, hi, I'm Christina Gomez. I'm the program manager for the Sexual Assault Victim Services team at News. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. I'm going to read your proclamation. City of American Canyon Proclamation for Sexual Assault Awareness for the month of November, for the month of April 2025. Whereas News, Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault Services is commemorating 43 years of service to survivors of domestic violence and sexual abuse in Napa County. And having opened as the county's Rape Crisis Center in 2010 to provide safety to those experiencing sexual abuse. And whereas in 2001, the National Sexual Violence Resource Center launched the first Sexual Assault Awareness Month campaign. And in 2009, the Obama administration officially recognized April as National Sexual Assault Awareness Month, enshrining our country's commitment to promoting education of sexual violence, promoting consent, ending victim blaming, and showing support for victims and survivors. And whereas Sexual Assault Awareness Month is about promoting safety, respect, equality, and standing up and speaking out against harmful cultural norms and attitudes, and allow sexual violence to persist, and not allowing sexual violence to persist. This year's national campaign of Together We Act, United We Change emphasizes the importance of communities working together to prevent sexual abuse, assault, and harassment. And whereas rape, sexual assault, and sexual harassment harms our community, statistics from the United States Center of Disease Control shows that over half of the women and almost 1 in 3 men have experienced sexual violence involving physical contact during their lifetimes, and that 1 in 4 women and 1 in 26 men have experienced complete and or attempted rape. Sexual violence has affected women, minors, and racial and ethnic minority groups who experience a high incidence of sexual violence. And whereas by observing April as Sexual Assault Awareness Month, we show that our community is committed to supporting survivors and working towards the prevention of sexual violence across generations. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Pierre Washington, Mayor of American Canyon, on behalf of the City Council, join News, advocates, and communities across the country in taking actions to prevent sexual violence. I do hereby proclaim April 2025 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month in American Canyon, and I ask the entire community to join in their efforts, not only in April, but all year long, to be part of the efforts to end sexual violence. And thank you, Christine, for being here to present. But do you have a few words for us?
Yes, thank you so much. I just wanted to say thank you for this recognition, but also wanted to point out we have wonderful members from Sir Optimist of American Canyon here showing support. You'll notice them in their wonderful, beautiful blue. And I just wanted to say thank you for your ongoing support. As Napa's Rape Crisis Center, we provide confidential support, advocacy, and resources to survivors of sexual abuse. To give you a little bit of a picture of what we were dealing with in the fiscal year of 2023 and 2024, we provided services to nearly 1,800 of our Napa community members, 288 of which were survivors of sexual abuse and sexual assault. 128 of those were specifically from American Canyon. As we observe Sexual Assault Awareness Month, you heard this year's theme is Together We Act, United We Change. And we really hope that you join our efforts at News, especially this coming month on Sunday, May 4th. We have Walk a Mile Napa Valley happening. And we really challenge participants to step into the shoes that tell a story. It's supported by the Napa Valley College and the Monarch Justice Center as we send a powerful message to survivors. I believe you. I stand with you. You are not alone. Throughout the month of April, News provides outreach across the valley and has created a window display at the District Attorney's Office with the Courage Center and Victim Services as well. And I also wanted to point out that the extension of Sir Optimus at American Canyon High School is also doing wonderful outreach, the S Club, this month in honor of a display that we do every year called What Were You Wearing display. So just showcasing that you don't have to wear anything specific to be harmed. And so it's just getting rid of that stigma. And I'm just really proud of those students for collaborating with us and wanting to make a statement to their student body. So thank you so much for the support.
Thank you. We'll take a picture with your front. You just got to pump it a couple of times.
That's right. Just think it works. Don't lick your hands.
At this time, I'd like to open up public comment for items that are not on tonight's agenda. You have 3 minutes to make your comments. And we have a sign up, and we'll go in order of that sign up first.
Okay. Cindy Lederer.
Good evening, Mayor Washington and the City Council and members in the audience. My name is Cindy Lederer, and most importantly, you need to know I am an avid walker in the wetlands. And I wanted to let you know that people from the all parts of the Bay Area come to our wetlands to walk, to jog, to take pictures. It's a valuable piece of land in our community. And I wanted, the last couple of weeks, there's been something going on with what we had Measure J, and I am a no voter on Measure J. I'm also a 38-year resident of American Canyon. I don't completely understand it, but I do know that the Measure J that we voted no on is in question, and that property involved in Measure J is really a beautiful part of the wetlands trail. And it is the only place I see coyotes now, since the warehouse has been put in by the stables. So I'm here to inform you that there is a big community of walkers that are really concerned about what happens out there. So I would like to understand more and what happens now after the LAPCO vote, and understand what your part is from here on out. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Letterman.
Valerie Zizek Morris.
Hello, I'm Valerie Zizek Morris, President and CEO of the American Canyon Chamber. Thank you for giving me 3 minutes today. I'm here to talk about Meet Me in the Street, which is just a few months away, and it will be happening once again this summer, the second Wednesday, June, July, and August. I just want to let everybody in the community know that this platform was designed to connect business with community, and we currently have our registration open. We are launching our third year of our Kids Commerce program, which is the Youth Entrepreneurship Program, and we will be asking the City Council once again to waive the business license fees for Kids Commerce, and we'll be coming up at the May 20th council meeting to present those business licenses to the young entrepreneurs. So I just wanted to let the council know about that date, and that would be coming. And I just want to let the community know that if you're looking for an opportunity as a nonprofit or a local business, that this is the event for you to get a table. You can go to the American Canyon Chamber website. You can head to our events calendar. You can see all 3 events there. Registration is open. Of course, we're looking for sponsorship from any local businesses here within the Napa region, and we're really excited to see you all once again out at Meet Me in the Street with our food truck rally and our business rally. Hope to see you all there. Thank you.
Thank you, Valerie.
Jeanette Goich.
Good evening, Mayor Washington, City Council members, and members of the public. My name is Jeanette Goyette. I've lived in American Canyon for 37 years. Oh, I'm sorry. And would often go to the meetings regarding incorporation of American Canyon into the city. That was a long time ago, right? Sounded good to me at the time. The promoters of incorporation painted American Canyon as kind of the stepchild of like an abusive step-parent, Napa. We were made to believe that American Canyon was dumped on with board and care housing. When my family needed a place for my family member to reside because of serious illness, we were grateful for the care he received in American Canyon. In truth, I never found Napa to be the monster as described after being here for so many years. Being in control of our own destiny did sound appealing, until I've learned that sometimes that's not always the case. When Measure J was not passed 2 years ago because of the vote of American Canyon residents, they voted against more warehouse development, and then later Measure K was not put up for a vote of the people because enough signatures were received so the City Council could and did decide to not have the people vote for or against Measure K. All apparently legal, but in my view, disingenuous. This all brings me to a condition I have been having for the past 2+ years. It's called an earworm, from a song that Joni Mitchell wrote many years ago, Big Yellow Taxi, about 50 years ago. They paved paradise and put up a parking lot. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone? I was at both City Council meeting and the LAFCO meetings when it was voted to put the Green Island property in the influence of American Canyon, with total disregard of the vote of the people 2 years ago. At both meetings, there were comments that in fact Measure J passed with 250 votes, implying, as I would think, that those votes didn't count. My vote was one of them. I would like to think that my vote still counts in this society. Isn't a win a win? As I understand it, Pierre Washington won by about 314 or so votes in the last election. Is he not our mayor? The truth of the matter is that only about 30% of people in American Canyon did vote. I've heard several times Napa Napa should stay out of our business, is what I'm saying, but I'm talking about this Green Island property. It actually was Napa County property until recently. From what I've read on Nextdoor and Facebook, is that people are angry, people are discouraged because they realize that their vote does not seem to matter. It is apparent to me from what I've seen from this council, they may be correct. The damage to ignoring the vote of the people 2 years ago was not only significant.
Jeanette, you're at time. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeanette.
Hugh Marquez.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. My name is Hugh Marquez. I have a couple of things I'd like to ask. The first thing is, I'd like to know if we could get a status on the recycled water fill stations. The city has closed them all down, and we're getting ready for summer to begin. And I specifically use those to water my plants, so I'm not using the water with the rates that I increased because I was on that committee. So, but as we know, it has to happen. But anyway, I want to know if we could get a status of when and where they are going to be put. I know that there was going to be we decided, the committee decided, or the city has, because you adopted it, to do a charge. I believe there was a charge going to be at the time. And so I'm coming to you to find out what the status of those are in the upcoming months before summer. I'm also coming because I've been told and I've read on the local sites that the right turn on Flosden and American Canyon Road, I've had where you're turning where the sign goes right so you could turn and people are making a right. I specifically have not been there, but I've had many bikers and many walkers, people talking about that turn is a hazard because people are looking left while they're turning right, and bicyclists and walkers are having issues. And I'm coming to the city council to ask if they can put some kind of lighted warning sign to have cars be more cautious of our pedestrians and bicyclists. That's the second thing. The last thing is, of course, Measure J and the LAFCO. Again, the voters voted to not have Measure J approved. LAFCO, before this LAFCO meeting, had told the developer that they could not develop, they were not going to approve the development. We've now had 2 city council and a supervisor get on the LAFCO board and totally went against the will of the people. And I find that very disheartening. The one thing I do ask is if this does come to fruition, that the city council, the planning, make a green belt that will block the warehouses and does not allow. I don't know what plans you guys have, what the city council and planning has for that property. We already know what the developer has developed for it. And I'm asking the city council that if this does come to fruition against the voters,
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. What a meeting be without me being here, huh? 3 minutes at a time. So I'm here because I would like to have the Napa Solano Audubon Society and the Sierra Club be permitted to do a presentation to the City Council, perhaps in August or September, to introduce you to the work that they're doing in the community. One of the things that became very clear to me while I was at the LAFCO meeting and at the City Council meeting is that environmentalist has become almost like a swear word. And at the LAFCO meeting, there was a row of men from American Canyon who kept turning around and coming up and telling us that we don't belong here if we don't live here. So I would like to introduce you to your members who are part of the Audubon Society, as well as the work that we're doing. I have stood before you and I've talked about the bald eagles, and I got that information from the president of the Audubon Society because I'm the conservation director of the society. And when people say to me, there's no such thing as bald eagles at the mouth of the Napa River or in the wetlands, or those animals aren't there, I don't know how to back that up. So I'd like to have you meet the people and have them bring the slides and do a 15-minute presentation, I don't know, 10 minutes, whatever the length is. I tried to go before the Planning Commission, and Mr. Cooper told me that it was the City Council that I needed to have permission from. So I ask you again, thank you.
Thank you, Yvonne.
Arvind Naishal.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and friends. My name is Arvind Nishal. I am resident of American Canyon. Last council meeting, they honored me on my holy festival proclamation. I'm really grateful for the city, and they have done so. Last time I was so emotional because my family was here, my friend was here, so I couldn't say anything much about that time. But this event is really very successful in town, and more people are coming. And so I brought in Napa Valley Register paper, came, and they have the whole page of this pictures of our event, which we celebrated it. And there are so many pictures available online with this Napa Valley Register. You can look at it. Thanks to the chief who came over there, and thanks to everybody they love it, this event. So we want to grow it a little bit more, this event, because a lot of people asking for what time is coming. They came from Napa also, even the Napa Valley Register then came to me and said, why don't you event some more in a bigger way? I said, well, if I have some funding, I can do it more. So that's why I came here today. Maybe city can sponsor this program to help me to generate more events in this place and call more people to come, because I spend all my money. I didn't charge anybody over there. Even I bring the colors, I bring the food, bring everything, but I need some little bit support from the city so it can be done better way. So that's what I want to say, and thank you very much for your proclamation, and you honor my holy festival, and thank you very much for everybody. Thanks for coming, and we have a good time. So this event is keep on growing and growing, and kids love it. They're all colorful. They're all colorful. It's all friends, we're all friends. We not have any grudge each other, but we love each other. So we welcome the spring, and we welcome everybody. So please do think about that one and let me know. Thank you very much, Council. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Arvind.
That is my last speaker card. I do have 2 hands raised online, but I think Fran's waving over there.
Well, first let me say that Measure J should never happen. The city council could have approved that man's property. He, as a property owner, he pays taxes on it, and for us to say he should do nothing with it is not fair. It's not fair to him. He wants to develop it. He wanted to develop it in a very good way to make the city prosperous and to make the wetlands better. He's not going to take property away from the trails. And I just felt like he didn't get a fair shake. Not everybody in the city voted for Measure J. Like I said, it should never have happened. And the will of the people need to be listened to. But however, there's 2 sides to 2 stories. And as a property owner myself, you can't tell people what to do with their property. You can just hope the city puts codes in places and makes things better for everyone, the property owner and the city. I love this city. I love all the people in this city. And as far as Napa's concerned, I love Napa. Sometimes I feel like they don't like us, but that's here nor there. That's old history. And we are very proud of our city. We are a very wonderful part of Napa County, and we all need to work together. So thank you.
Thank you, Fran. Andy, online.
Okay, I am now calling from online. I've got Justin Hamilton Hole. Go ahead, Justin.
Good evening, Mayor Gelsing. This is Justin from, I live here, Mary Canyon for full life, for 39 years. I want to shout out, I know she will be leaving at the city office. I think Chen I'm gonna be miss her. I think she do a lot of good work. Set up for the event, 4th of July parade, and 4th of July event. Secondly, I want to shout out, we have good workers that's out there. Put the new pipe in there, water pipe, and I hope that we will see new sidewalk up to my street. And the other thing is, I don't know if I can be planning to change the fire water. But I wanted to say, I hope that Karen Dunmore will be nice and patient. So thank you. Good work.
Thank you, Justin.
Thank you, Justin. I have Laura from online. Go ahead, Laura, and please state your full name.
Hi, my name is Laura Priolo. I've been a resident of American Canyon for well over 30 years before it was incorporated. And first I would like to thank Mark Joseph for supporting the citizens of American Canyon, and just would like to inquire as to why no one else did regarding the LAFCO vote. That is all I ask. I want an explanation. And Mark was the only one who voted against the agenda item here. So that's really all I have to say. I just want to know why our city elected officials are not supporting the citizens of American Canyon.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you, Laura. Yes, go ahead, Karen. You gotta go there.
For my 3 minutes, can I do this? This is for Jennifer. Where is she hiding at? She gone? It is you. She's gonna be right now she's probably over at. That's fine. The
110.
110. That's all right. He expressed a great interest when I walked in with him, so that's good. Okay. Karen Fritz, citizen. Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff, community. I have two things. I'll start out with the good one first. This is for, I think, Erica. She is Public Works Director.
Yes.
This is for part of her crew. Sunday morning, I'd like to send praise to one of her employees I spoke with early Sunday morning. I was walking with that big dog I own. He was, the gentleman was very nice, and at first, what happened was there was a big, huge dead possum in the road. And we're talking 7 o'clock in the morning, and I thought, oh my goodness, I don't want kids to see this. So this employee was coming around the corner, and I flagged him down, and I told him, can you pick that up and do whatever you got to do? And at first he said he would tell someone, and I said, really? And he goes, oh, I got a bag. I'll get it and throw it in the truck. So thank you for him taking care of that. Because you're talking a really nice little quiet neighborhood. That's the last thing I wanted anybody to have to see. Poor thing, didn't make it across the street. I didn't get his name, so I can't tell you who it was, but thank you, sir, for handling the immediate situation and taking care of business for us. Now, on a second note, Hugh, I know you're very proud of your position on the water committee, but here we go. The rate increase is one thing for how many units you use. Now, I got a 90-year-old mother-in-law that lives alone. She doesn't even drive anymore. I know, she's young. But, I took a picture of her water bill. She used 1 unit, and I bet it wasn't even the whole 748 gallons for the whole month. 1 unit. No, that's not bad. But she's charged $74.94 for sewer, just like the rest of us in American Canyon. I thought we had a tier system. More units you used, the higher your sewer rate was. I think that's totally outrageous.
One person barely used a unit of water is charged the same for sewer as the house on the corner that's got 12 to 15 cars parked around it. I think something needs to be reevaluated, especially when it comes to the case of our senior citizens or those that are on extremely limited incomes. I truly would hope that that could be taken a look at. I didn't realize that was the case, and then I saw my bill was the same. But, you know, that's a different case. 1 unit of water, that's unheard of. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Karen. No one else in the audience for public comment? And no one else online?
I have no one else.
Thank you. I'll close public comment at this time, and I'll move to agenda changes if there are any from council. We have 2 items. Seeing none, I'll accept a motion to accept the consent calendar and the 2 items on the consent calendar.
I'll make that motion for the consent calendar.
Second.
I have a second. Can I get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Cruz?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamatina?
Yes.
Councilmember Oro?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Joseph?
Yes.
Mayor Washington?
Yes. Next item is a public hearing. There are actually no public hearing items, so we'll move on to our business item. The first business item, item number 7, is the wall that heals in Ali Akita.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Alexandra Ikeda, Parks and Recreation Director. And I'm here this evening to share some exciting news with you that American Canyon Community will be hosting The Wall That Heals. The Wall That Heals is a 375-foot exhibit replica of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C. that honors and pays tribute to the more than 58,000 men and women who paid the ultimate sacrifice in Vietnam. This exhibit is in partnership with our Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund, who also originally dedicated the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C. in 1982. In addition, the exhibit comes along with a mobile education center. We will be hosting this 4-day event at Community Park 2. Although this picture isn't Community Park 2, oh, it's not even up on the screen.
Really? You didn't send me a presentation. I didn't know.
Oh,
there we go.
Thank you. Although this is not Community Park 2, this is an idea, and just to give you of what it would look like in Community Park 2. Community Park 2, which is where we hold our July 4th celebration. And it's going to be from October 16th through the 19th. But we wanted to just kind of show you what that 375-foot wall is going to look like when it's built at Community Park 2. So each year, VVMF selects host locations, and in August of 2024, we applied, and out of 145 applications, American Canyon was selected for the 2025 tour. We are the only Northern California location, so that's really something truly to celebrate. We would like to share with you what the Wall That Heals is all about, because it's a pretty big deal.
Give it a smoke, Jen.
Really is about
Jen, are we spinning? Give us just a moment.
The Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund many years ago created a replica of the wall that travels to communities around the country that we call the Wall That Heals. This mobile replica really is about taking the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund to communities large and small to allow people to have that same kind of the wall healing that travels to communities around the country, and we show their respect, to remember those 58,000 whose names are on the wall, as well as the 2.7 million Vietnam veterans who served who returned home. It's a chance to look back.
Can open it up again. Beautiful. Perfect.
I think you stretched it though. That's the.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I don't. Can you unstretch it because it's not fitting to the screen? No, I think you stretched it. Hold on, I can fix it. Oh my God.
They do it for me so I can have it here. Yeah, when they make reference, so that helps.
There we go. Thank you.
The Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund many years ago created a replica of the wall that travels to communities around the country that we call the Wall That Heals. This mobile replica really is about taking the names home to communities large and small to allow people to have that same kind of healing experience, to come and show their respect, to remember those 58,000 whose names are on the wall, as well as the 2.7 million Vietnam veterans who served who returned home. It's a chance to look back and pay their respects to those who answered the call of service to their country, especially those who made the ultimate sacrifice.
To be able to take this around to communities that may not even know anything about the wall or the war, especially for the young kids to come out and see these things and get educated on it. People need to know what these 58,000 plus gave their lives for. Whether they want to hear about it or not, they need to know.
The experience at the Wall That Heals is as you go from one end in toward the center, the wall actually rises up above you so that it's taller than you are, which is one of the key design aspects of the wall in Washington. As you go down one of the walkways, the wall actually rises above you. And I think that has a psychological impact where you actually understand that there is something important here. It is so large that it creates an emotion of power, and you understand you're supposed to stop, you're supposed to think about it. And in this case, you can read the names, you can see your reflection in the wall, and you have to remember why those names are inscribed. These are people who sacrificed their lives for our country.
I get this feeling in my stomach, the pride that you see. When we went into San Dimas, the kids were all along the streets with their American flags. That always chokes me up because I know what it is to serve this country, and we as Americans sometimes don't understand the cost of war. Hate the war all you want, but don't hate the warrior.
I met a couple guys here this morning, and one guy, I walked up to him and he started crying already. Man, that makes me feel good. Not that he's crying, but that he's here to have bonding with someone and being able to find his buddy on the wall. It means so much.
So as you saw in this video, hosting The Wall That Heals is no special feat. It's a major production that takes a dedicated team to bring it to life. The exhibit will open to the public on Thursday, October 16th and close on Sunday, October 19th at 2 o'clock. But the journey begins on Tuesday, October 14th, as we welcome The Wall That Heals into American Canyon from Clovis, California, with a formal escort and parade. From that moment on, volunteers will be essential to help with the setup, military customs, site operations, volunteer management, and takedown. To kick off the coordination efforts, we are forming a planning committee. While the full roster of leadership roles is still being finalized, we anticipate this team will be a mixture of city staff and engaged community members, including some who have already or who is already contributing to the success of our Memorial Day and Veterans Day ceremonies. Additionally, city staff are recommending that the council establish an ad hoc subcommittee, which will include 2 council members to help support and guide the planning process in collaboration with the planning committee. At a minimum, 192 volunteers are needed to support this event outside of the programming committee. On the screen, you can see what will be needed each day. Volunteer opportunities will be shared with the community shortly and will be available on the website for sign up to participate. The yellow section, as you can see, is a little special section that is for other things that are not accounted for in the 192 volunteers that are needed. This can include parking, attendance, event ceremony volunteers, host for volunteer tent, photographer, chaplain, color guard, etc. So that's just to keep in mind that there may be other roles outside of what we've already identified. I wanted to share this video with you to kind of give you the visitor experience of what our community and people around will experience when they come here. Gosh, goodness gracious. The Wall That Heals is a powerful reminder of the sacrifices made by our veterans. It brings a legacy of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial into our community like ours. offering space for healing, reflection, and tribute. Hosting this exhibit in American Canyon is an incredible opportunity, not just for our local veterans and their families, but for the entire region. It's a chance to come together, honor the past, and show our continued gratitude to those who have served. We're honored to be a part of this year's tour, and thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you for that presentation, Ali. Really informative. I like the videos as well. Are there any clarifying questions or concerns from council before we open up the public comment?
Just for a historical perspective, what initiated the application? Did that come from the community here, or was it an idea within staff?
It was originally an idea amongst staff. Jen Kanzenbach, as you know, she served in the military, and she had heard of this, the Wall That Heals, and she thought it would be a great opportunity to bring it here to American Canyon because of the amount of veterans that live here in this community and how much we think that they would appreciate something like this.
Vice Mayor Joseph?
Yeah, I think this is an incredible opportunity, and I'm just going to my head thinking there's going to be a lot of people showing up. And so we also need to be thinking, I'm sure we already are, but we need to be thinking about how do you handle that kind of a crowd. Depending upon how it all plays out, it could be kind of like our 4th of July type crowd. So, which is exciting. It's just, I guess it's popping into my head and I'm just throwing it out there. But as long as we're prepared for it, this is really cool.
Councilmember LaMartina?
I think this is amazing, and I'm excited that it's coming to our city. And my big question is, are the lights going to stay on all night?
They will,
Okay,
yes.
cool.
So from October 16th to the 19th, it is actually a 24-hour display that is open to the public. There is no additional lighting at night because of the feeling and the ambiance that they're trying to create, but the lights will stay up on the actual wall itself.
Thank you.
Councilmember Cruz?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I think this is going to be an amazing event. One thing question I do have, which maybe a lot of our folks here have, is what would be the cost to the city?
Yes, thank you for that. So there was an application fee of $12,000 to bring it here to American Canyon, and then there will be additional costs to support the event, and that is included in this coming fiscal year's budget that will potentially be adopted in June, and that will include all the logistical items. We do need to we need to rent 2 generators, we need to rent portable restrooms, we will want to feed our volunteers with some snacks to keep them happy, and potentially get volunteer shirts, and then some other miscellaneous items to support the event. So we have about $20,000 allocated for the 4-day event.
Thank you. From what I understand, what I saw, it'll be a 24-hour operation for the 3 or 4 days. Will that be staffed by our folks or by their folks?
So this actually comes with 2 dedicated staff from the Wall That Heals crew that will be on site, and then we will have various volunteers throughout the evening, and we will have staff to support that as well.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other question from council? Seeing none, I'd like to open up to public comment for any comments that you may have, or volunteer, Hugh.
Well, thank you, Jen, for having to bring the wall to our beautiful city. First thing, Allie, is I'd like to be an escort. I want to ride my bike and be in front or be on the back when we come. You have a volunteer here. I also would like to ask that there was a time for 4th of July when we would put donation buckets to our businesses. And I would recommend that the city consider using that to maybe offset some of the cost. I'm not saying that to get rid of the cost, but to let the citizens participate in helping fund bringing the Wall That Heals to our beautiful city. Thank you again.
Thank you, Hugh.
Good evening, Beth Marcus. I was wanted to be the first one, but Hugh beat me to it. I wanted to be the very first volunteer. As a veteran of the United States Navy, I had the pleasure of seeing the wall. I was honored several years ago to be able to go back to Washington and to go to all the war monuments and things, and seeing this wall is absolutely fantastic. And so I can't be the first volunteer, but you've got me, and I'll be there all 4 days, 24 hours if you want me.
Be the first volunteer. I don't care. I'm the second. I don't care.
Thank you, Beth.
Hello, my name is Sophie. I am excited for this because I never been anywhere. And my son have the opportunity to see the wall. I didn't, but this would be really great in our community to have this one. And not just that, also to support our local businesses, especially like food truck industry. It could be also one of the things that they could have a donation box beside them, and it could be, you know, lesser for the funds that we need for this wall. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophie. Any other, Karen?
Karen Fritz, Citizen American Canyon. I just would like to say thank you, Jennifer, so much for doing this. I lived through that era. I had friends. And too bad this wasn't coming sooner. My husband is making a plan. He's leaving Mother's Day? He's leaving Mother's Day to ride his motorcycle to Washington, the ride to the wall. Him and another one of our retired service members are doing that this year. And it's a very large group, and it's pretty cool because I get to see the wall too, and I don't even have to go. But I think this is a once in a lifetime and a very awesome thing for the city. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thanks, Karen. Anyone else? Do we have anybody online?
We do not.
Okay. If there's no more public comment, I'd like to close public comment on item number 7 and return to council for additional statements, questions, or an adoption of this minute order. It appears that the ask is to adopt the minute order appointing 2 of our council members to the ad hoc subcommittee to assist in the planning of the wall of hills. But it looks like you have a question, Councilmember Cruz.
Thank you, Mayor. With that minute order and that recommendation, being a military veteran myself, it would be my honor to serve on that committee, if so choose to do so. That's all I got.
I was going to nominate you, so I'm glad. And not that I'm pointing fingers, but the mayor, I believe, has a military background. He might be a good second candidate.
I'd be honored to represent and participate as the ad hoc committee.
And
I'll make the motion to appoint Councilmember Cruz and Mayor Washington as the ad hoc committee members for, I'm forgetting the name, the wall something.
The Wall That
The Wall
Heals.
That Heals, thank you, yes.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second. Can we get a roll call, please?
Sorry.
All right. Okay.
Apparently not capable of.
Councilmember Cruz,
Absolutely, yes.
Councilmember Lamattina,
Yes.
Councilmember Oro,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Joseph,
Yes.
Mayor Washington.
Yes, and thank you again, Ali, for that presentation. The next item is number 8, the PhilAm Dual Citizenship Outreach Event and Fee Waiver. Mr. Holly, will you be presenting on that one?
Yes, Mayor. We have a fee program for the use of our city facilities, and we do have some discretion around waivers, but ironically, we don't have discretion when representatives of a foreign government would like to come and use our facility. And so that's why the item's before you. The PhilAm of American Canyon has arranged for the consulate of the country of the Philippines to come and do a citizenship registration type program We think it's a great use for the city facility, and a waiver is appropriate. We also wanted to kind of celebrate the occasion and recognize that this will be happening in July. July 15th to be exact. So that's the item before you. It's a simple minute order waiving the fee, but I think it's also appropriate to kind of recognize it. And if there's anyone from Phil-Am this evening who wanted to come and speak up about the event, we'd be happy to hear more. And we do have a public card. Yeah.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening, city officials headed by Honorable Washington. My name is Joseph Mangapot. I'm the current Vice President of Phil-Am here in American Canyon. On behalf of our officers and members, I would like to please appeal our city officials if they can waive the fee for the rental of one of the facilities here in American Canyon, which is the Napa Junction Elementary School, because the Phil-Am is planning to hold a consular outreach program this coming July 12th. That will be Saturday, I believe. This project is a big endeavor to our community, especially the Filipinos who are not having enough funds to renew their passports and other situations in their life about their status, that they can give legal advice to our consular affairs. So, if approved, this or waive the rental fee, it will be a big savings for us. So we can again do some good community outreach here and abroad. That's all, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I actually was approached by the president of the Phil-Am, Jodell, who made mention that this would be really important to the Phil-Am, the club and the community as well, and I thought it was a great idea. We initially had it set up to just be on consent calendar, but I thought that we should educate the community as well, and then share some of the feedback from the council as well, because we think it's a great, we think it's a great idea, a great community service, and I'll allow some of my colleagues now to share their thoughts. Vice Mayor?
Yes, well, first of all, I'm happy to support this. Are you looking at the Napa Junction multi-purpose room to host this?
Yes.
Okay, all right, which is great. I mean, I remember years ago, it was at the Activity Center, and it's always been a very positive thing, and it's great that you're doing this and running it. So that's all I can say. It's a great opportunity, and I'm happy to support it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilmember Cruz.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just so most folks know, Phil-Am's been a pillar here in American Canyon for quite some time. In fact, they've hosted this event in recent past, and it's to get this event going, they financed this event out of their own pockets. So I really do support this endeavor 100%, and thank you for hearing the Phil-Am out. Thank you.
Thank you again, sir.
Hearing no other comments from the council, I'd like to open up to public comment, if there's any public comment in regards to the waiver fee. Sophie?
As you know, I am half Filipino, and all my kids are dual citizenship. The last time I renewed all my kids' passport was 2020. Yes, pandemic time. And my son, the third one, was born in 2018. So his expired, the next one after that expired, and the next one after that expired. So my youngest one, I didn't get the chance to get him a passport, Philippine passport. Because imagine bringing all 5 kids, my husband, the grandma, and me, to the consulate to make an appointment online is so hard. And parking is so hard and expensive to add to that. And doing all that, hours and hours, and a crying baby on a small, tiny building is so hard. So we are really looking forward for this to happen here in American Canyon. And 30-something Filipino population here in American Canyon. It will benefit a lot of people, a lot of seniors that doesn't do online things anymore. So this is really a really great opportunity to support the community, especially the Filipino community. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophie. Anyone else for public comment? Seeing there's no other public comment, I'd like to close public comment on item number 8 and return to the council for additional statements, questions, and/or adoption of the minute order. Councilmember Cruz.
If there are no other questions, comments, or concerns, I move that we adopt a minute order approving the waiver of the facility rental fee for the use of a city facility by the Philippine Consulate General's Office.
I'll second that.
Thank you. We have a second. Can we get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Cruz?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamatina?
Yes.
Councilmember Oro?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Joseph?
Yes.
Mayor Washington?
Yes. Thank you. And congratulations. The next business item is item number 9, General Plan Comprehensive Update, the Environmental Impact Report, and a Zoning Code Amendment Workshop. Mr. Cooper.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor Washington, members of the City Council, and members of the public. I'm Brent Cooper, Community Development Director, and pleased to present to you for a workshop the updated general plan. I'm very pleased to have with me tonight part of our consultant team. We have Gianna Meski from Rincon, along with Hannah Bareshi. And then we have Jim Harnish of Mintier Harnish. So we're really pleased. It's been a long time. It's been around 5 years. This project's been in the works, and it continues today. We've had feedback. It's been really helpful. So the general plan really just going to get better. So I'm looking forward to our conversation today, and I have an overview of the general plan, and then you'll get a reprieve because then Gianna will share with you the environmental impact report, which is a very meaningful and important milestone in the process. The general plan is a very important document for the city. It guides the future physical build-out of the city over a long term. And so it's very important to a lot of the things that we do here, and I'll go through some of those with the presentation. The overall scope of the project, fairly simple. We have a technical update to comply with current state law, and as well as our current vision for the city on a wide variety of topics. I mentioned that you have an environmental impact report, which Jenna will mention and talk about. Just last December, the Airport Land Use Commission updated the Napa Airport's land use plan. It overlaps American Canyon, and the two need to work together. And then we're going to kind of wrap it up with some amendments to the zoning code, just to make sure that the general plan and the zoning are talking together and they're consistent with one another. The City Council itself goes through a strategic planning process, and the general plan is here to support the council in its efforts. The priorities, again, need to be consistent with the general plan. And when they're all working together, it really creates a city that improves public health and safety. Your zip code has more to do with your overall health than any other determination, income, education, anything, lifestyle. It matters where you live. What happens here helps everybody when we do it right. Our environment is also benefits from a good general plan, which equates to, add those together, quality of life. Places that have a high quality of life attract business and economic development. And so all of that, when you combine together, helps American Canyon be a place that you love to live. And that's really sums up the general plan, and I'll be glad to take questions from here.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper.
And with that, I'll go on. Sorry, that was a little joke.
Oh. I was about to say this could have been your shortest presentation ever. And
Sorry. All right. Sorry. If only it could be that easy. It really is, but I just had to do it. Sorry. When we do talk about a general plan, we are talking about a piece of geography. State law says that the city needs to plan its area around the city limits that matters to the future of the city and the decisions that the city makes. And so if we were to take the outer boundary of the city's general plan planning area, that would be the historical water district. It predates the city's incorporation, but it exists today as a subsidiary agency of American Canyon. And so there's properties outside of American Canyon that need water, and they come to the city to get it. So it's a very important service, and it matters a lot because, as we all know, water is very precious, and it's an important service. In addition to that, we have a sewer agency that's smaller than the water district, but also extends outside the city limits, and so it matters as well. Kind of bringing it in a bit more, we have our urban limit line. This area is closer into the city, of course, than the water district boundary, but this is an agreement between the city and the county that was reached in 2008 over the ultimate city limits by the year 2030. Most of that area that was designated urban limit line back in 2008 has since been annexed into the city, and it was really facilitated through this agreement with the council. And I had the privilege in that time of being here to work on around 6 annexations, and so it's really helped grow the city. The sphere of influence is a line that's a little tighter to the city than the urban limit line. This is a line that is drawn actually by the state of California through the Local Agency Formation Commission. Every county in California has a Local Agency Formation Commission, and we do too. And it decides where the sphere of influence goes. And it can expand it, it can shrink it, and there's an interesting, very interesting process under which decisions are made for a sphere of influence. Essentially what it says is it's a logical area to be annexed into the city in the near term, about 5 years, give or take. And then of course we have our city corporate boundary that we know and love. I have a small map here that depicts a general plan map, just sort of as an example. Every property within our city and urban limit line has a designated land use. So it may be empty today, but the general plan has designated how it can be used. The general plan can be amended, and we've had a number of those in the last few years, but property owners, if they're wondering what they can do with their property, need to look at the general plan because that indicates how land gets to be used. I do in the upper right-hand corner have something called the Hess Laird property in Hatch Line. In 2022, the City Council asked staff to add a little more vision to the general plan and look toward potentially adding the Hess Laird property into the urban limit line. And so it's been included in the general plan as a special study area. Changing property to add it into the urban limit line is complicated and a very involved process. So we can't just do it through the general plan, but it is earmarked as a priority to look at after the general plan is adopted. I'd mentioned that we have some land use changes. It's common for a lot of general plans when you work on it over 5 years that you've got a giant bundle of land use changes to consider at the end of the process. Our city council, as we all know, is very high achieving. And so over the period of time in which we've been working on the general plan, we've been working on the general plan. And so there are a number of major land use decisions that have been resolved, and they're done. And so as we're looking at updating the general plan as a milestone, a new baseline, there really aren't that many land use changes that are left. And so the ones that I'm calling out here are areas where we have creeks and parks that were designated commercial or residential from the old days, but they aren't going to be used for those purposes. They're going to be used as open space. And so those are going to be redesignated to what they are actually used for. And the same is true for public schools that were designated residential and commercial, because our public school, Napa Valley Unified School District, has its authority from the state of California. They don't need to come to American Canyon to decide whether the zoning allows a school. they're an agent of the state. And so they locate schools wherever it's appropriate. And since now we know where they are, they're there, they're not going away, it's time to make the land uses underneath it per our plan consistent with them. So they're fairly simple. I do still have on the upper right-hand corner here the Watson and Paoli properties that actually was taken care of and redesignated a couple of years ago. So that's actually kind of a holdover from an older graphic because we're taking care of things. The general plan I mentioned has a lot of topics. We have an entire element designated to the environment, but we're also, circulation is important as well. And this one's been labeled mobility in the general plan. Roadway improvements, which are expensive and take a long time to build, there aren't too many new ones designated in the general plan. We have on the east side, we call the east side connectors as an alternate to Highway 29, an extension of Newell Drive across the frontage of Watson Lane, and then extending west to Highway 29 through the Paoli property. And then heading north from there through the Hess-Laird property to connect with South Kelly Road. On the west side, the council designated a special subcommittee to evaluate where should there be a west side connector. And so a subcommittee presented to the city council a petition, and we had a workshop on the issue in 2021. And the council at the time acknowledged the alignment, and so it's shown here. The council fell short of approving this alignment and amending the general plan at the time. It's kind of bundled up with everything else that we have under this amendment. There are some new topics in the general plan today that wasn't in the original general plan, which, by the way, was adopted in 1994, which, if you're not a planner, you're better at math, but I had to Google it. It's about 30 years. So it's been a long time, and since that time, state law has changed, and among the topics that is in a general plan today is wildfire mitigation, which is a very important and topical issue, and it's very important. So there are new policies in the general plan now about this topic that might not have been there from the original one. I'd mentioned that the Airport Land Use Commission adopted a new land use plan for Napa Airport. The Airport Land Use Commission is an interesting agency because it too gets its authority from the state of California. It is part of Napa County, but the Napa County Board of Supervisors doesn't oversee it. You can't appeal a decision of the Airport Land Use Commission to the Board of Supervisors. They're independent. And so state law and Caltrans aeronautical rules designate the way in which an airport land use plan is done. And so the county funded it over about a 2-year period. I was involved as a participant adjacent jurisdiction. And so they finally finished the plan in December of last year. State law says that when there is a new airport land use plan, the city that overlays it, or its overlays, has to amend its plan to be consistent with the airport plan. So we were just finished with the general plan when this new little task popped up. So the general plan does incorporate the airport land use plan, and we have additional policies for consistency. And then this compatibility plan, along with the general plan, has been submitted to the Airport Land Use Commission staff for them to evaluate. And what they would do with it is decide whether it's consistent or not, or compatible, I think is the term they use. One of the interesting features in this plan is that arcing along our northern part of the city is an area called the D zone. So the airport land use plan designates these circles in letters. The higher the letter, the more close it is to the airport, or the more severe and extreme the impact is. As you work your way out, to the least severe is the E zone, where we are tonight, and that has the least influence in the airport, as you can probably imagine. But the D zone, which arcs across our northern part of the city, it kind of starts around Wetlands Edge and Eucalyptus, and it kind of arcs in a northeast direction and includes the Watson Lane property and the Hess-Laird property. You can kind of see it in that sort of medium light green. In the old plan, it was viewed that this area is too noisy for housing because of the airplanes. But the patterns have changed, the types of aircraft changed, the volume of plane, everything's changed. Since the old plan was adopted in 1999, I think is the most recent one. And so what they've done now is they've kept the D zone the same place, but they've loosened up on the land use restrictions. You can now put higher density housing is considered compatible in what they call D2, which is closest to us, and in D1, a little further away, allows for workforce housing. So this new allowance doesn't change our plan, but if we did, then it's likely that the Airport Land Use Commission, with a lot of asterisks, would consider it compatible. So that's an opportunity for another day. Outreach is always very important. This plan is our plan. It's important we hear from everybody. We've been reaching out and trying to get the word out and hear from everybody for a long time. And you can tell from the masks that we've been doing it for a while. And so it really is a plan for American Canyon. I'd mentioned that the City Council has updated the general plan as we've been updating the general plan. This would be one of the examples. A few years ago, the council decided that we should not be expanding gasoline stations in town. And so in order to do that, we adopted an ordinance to prohibit gas station expansion. The most valid reason for doing that would be climate change. The general plan, being as old as it was, had no policies about climate change. And so it would not be appropriate to adopt an ordinance to solve climate change if you don't have policies in your general plan for consistency about climate change. So we went back and amended the general plan to add policies about climate change, which then gave us the authority to adopt the ordinance. And so that was taken care of in 2021 or so. Another amendment that was very controversial was amending the Oat Hill on the east side from industrial to medium and high density residential. And so that was taken care of. You see the houses today that were being built. A small portion of it was actually in the D zone, and that caused a stir, we'll say, with the Airport Land Use Commission and Napa County. There was a very long period of time where that was resolved ultimately, which actually facilitated the county's agreement to update their plan. So it all worked out, but it was a lot of work, and we're glad it's done. Another area I mentioned is the Paoli-Watson area. This is a key feature of the City Council to help facilitate extending Newell Drive north to Highway 29. There is not a lot of money for roads, and so one of the ways in which roads are built is to monetize the property to help facilitate income and land value to help fund roadways. And so this was an effort that was done, the general plan, the rezoning was done a few years ago. The Airport Land Use Commission approved it. And so we're moving forward ultimately with a zoning application there. This property has been in our sphere of influence for many, many years. I forgot to mention, hand in hand along with road alignments are also pedestrian and bicycle plans. The city has adopted a bicycle master plan in 2020. That is part of our general plan and stays that way. We also have a pedestrian master plan that was adopted in 2017. That too is staying in the general plan. The Napa Valley Transportation Authority is updating a combined pedestrian and bicycle plan, and when that is completed, it will be adopted into the general plan and will replace the two plans that we have. So we're not just concerned about new roads, we also have concern to facilitate pedestrian and bicycle mobility as well. Another element that was updated is our housing element. This is a component of the general plan that gets a lot of scrutiny from the state of California, more so than any other part of the general plan. And it requires every place in California to accommodate housing for all income types. And it's very data intensive, very outreach intensive. Many cities have a difficult time accommodating it. American Canyon, because it has done so much forward planning with Watson Ranch, the Broadway District, Oat Hill, we've taken a lot of time to plan for these areas so that when the state says you've got to accommodate housing for all income types, we've already done that. And so we had an easier time than many cities. And if you are unable to do it, that jeopardizes your legal ability to regulate housing, if not all land use itself. So it's an important element that's been completed. I mentioned the West Side Connector. I have a graphic here that depicts the alignment that the subcommittee recommended the council in 2021 at a workshop. It would connect Commerce Boulevard to Hess Road, and it is part of the proposed mobility element today. Another final policy I'll tell you about is vehicle miles. This is a change in state law. In the old days, you'd measure new development, creates traffic, causes congestion, then they'd have a mitigation measure to widen roads and so on. What this ends up doing is just widening roads and encouraging people to drive by themselves. And so the state changed that law so that traffic congestion is no longer an environmental impact. In its place are policies that the cities need to adopt to help reduce the need to drive by automobile. And so that facilitates adding in those pedestrian and bicycle trails, as well as smart growth, that we call, where we're adding housing near jobs and transit and ways to be able to get safely around and conduct our day-to-day business without having to drive long distances by a car. I recently have attended the Open Space, Active Transportation, and Sustainability Commission and presented the general plan there. We talked about a variety of ways in which the OSAT's work plan is supported by policies in the general plan. I have one example here. Did the same thing for Parks and Community Services Commission. They too have a work plan that's supported by policies in the general plan. On April 1st, the City Council received a presentation from the Sheet Metal Workers Union, and they had a proposal for policies in the general plan. I've met with Alicia a couple of times. We talked about what they're looking for to accomplish, and we've talked to them about how we could accommodate that in the general plan. I'll briefly tell you how I went through, kind of reconcile what they presented and what we're proposing in the general plan. They have priorities there in terms of an out-of-area workforce that is taking jobs essentially from our local workforce. And then we have folks oftentimes that are working on construction projects in American Canyon that are poorly trained. I think that's a very legitimate concern given some of the experience we've had on some larger projects in American Canyon. There was also some detailed language that they proposed for the general plan. I wouldn't view it as very feasible for the general plan, but what I've done here, I know the font's a little hard to read if you're in the audience, but there are some key words and phrases that they are hoping to achieve. And what I did is I highlighted them and I condensed it into a goal. And so before we begin anything, we have to talk about what it is that we're trying to achieve. If we can agree on this, then we can kind of move forward on, well, let's get into a little more detail. So at the very highest level, we drafted a goal that says improve the economic well-being of the entire community by leveraging job creation from medium to large-scale private construction projects to benefit American Canyon residents and the local economy. That's a bit wordy, but it's less wordy than the other language. In a general plan, kind of the way we work on things, you start with a very broad goal and then you work into policies that kind of chunk it up into different components. I have one, there's four, I have one here, and what I did is I took, they had some more language here and gets a little more detail. So I took some of that more detailed language and added them into policies. So you take that larger one and then you break them down. So here's another one. Increase the local pool of skilled construction labor in Napa and Solano County areas by supporting apprentice programs for youth and veterans. And so these are elements that were in their presentation, and I kind of took that and brought them into a concise policy. And if everyone's okay with it, right, that's what we're here for, is to talk about some of these things, then we can move forward on how you actually implement that. This is something that came really just April 1st, that was 2 weeks ago. So I'm not sure we're going to be able to finish this in the time for our general plan, but the general plan is never finished. But I wanted to give the council, let them know that we've been working on that, trying to kind of come up with something that works so we have something to talk about. I don't normally give this many words in a graphic. I know you can't read it. But I wanted to share with you, here's a draft I've shared with the Sheet Metal Workers Union. Policy, goal and policies, I think addresses their concerns in a general plan format that we can insert if everybody is okay with it, which is a question. And then ultimately, if we are, then there would be implementing language. Kind of moving forward on this topic, and then I'll be done, and then I'm going to turn it over to Gianna for you. Questions would be, do we agree with this goal? Outreach, obviously, that tends to be what you want to do when you're having a policy initiative like this. Do the policies cover everything we want to achieve? How do you best implement this? Is it an ordinance? Is it, I don't know. What other mechanism is there? And then there's definitional terms. What do we mean by living wage? What do we mean by large projects? What do we mean by enforcement? There's a lot of questions that need to get answered. But we don't get down to that level before we all decide this is a good idea. So I wanted to share with you and let you know we're working hard on trying to resolve some of these issues for the City Council to consider either now or in the near future, if that's what you want. It was just a presentation. Our schedule for the general plan, we've gone through a number of, we had the Planning Commission hearing. They looked at this on March 27. They provided some input and recommended City Council approval. I mentioned we have the OSATs and Parks Commissions looked at this. We received public testimony and input. The commissions themselves provided input. I don't have that all for you now because it was so recent, but I've noted it and it will come back to you in time for May 20 for your hearing. We're hoping that the Airport Land Use Commission can make a determination before May 20. It's really up to them. But they know our schedule, so I'm hoping that they will do it. We did meet with them ahead of time, and they seemed supportive without having looked at the details, so I'm optimistic. And that's all I have. That's all I have for you. Maybe this might be a good time before we move on. If you have any questions about the general plan itself.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper. We do have questions. Vice Mayor.
Yes, well, first of all, I'm remarkably happy to see us as close as we are to getting this thing done. I don't want to bore people with the details, but I recall many years back as a city manager, we were organizing the General Plan Advisory Committee to begin the process of revising it. And that was roughly 18, 20 years ago. So I'm glad we're here. And getting back specifically to what I'll call the higher local provisions, I'm certainly sympathetic to it. And from my perspective, I see it as dovetailing very much into the vehicle miles traveled policy, that if we want to reduce the amount of traveling miles, the more we hire locally, the more you build that in. Not only because it's less miles from here in town, but because if it's a 3 or 4 mile trip, you might get yourself on a bike and cut out the car altogether. So I am certainly sympathetic. I know there will be pushback from certain elements, but I'd like to see it in the general plan so that it's policy and it allows staff and the council to kind of work through the details and flesh it out. So I'm happy there. My other comment is I'm a little disappointed that the economic development element and a climate action element aren't identified as specific elements, because I think it gives those two areas a little significance. I do recognize there's a lot of goals and policies and programs relating to all of that. So it's not as if we aren't addressing it, but it makes it a little harder to see. And so I wouldn't want to change the schedule, but somewhere along the line, if you're low on projects, a reformatting might be fun to take on. You'd love it.
The general plan is never finished, but we have a milestone baseline, and then we can move forward as well.
I would certainly take advantage of, once this is adopted, to say, hey, I'm taking a break. But when you're done and you get a little antsy and it's like, gosh, I want to get back to that.
I'm here
that's
for
what I'd
you
like to
and the
ask.
council.
All right.
Your pleasure.
Those are my biggest issues. I went through, as I think I mentioned to the city manager a few months back, the good news is a whole bunch of the things we have brought up over the years and felt as if they were ignored actually found their way in here. So I'm much more pleased with the outcome that I started when I looked at the title of contents. So how's that? Okay.
Any other clarifying questions? Seeing none, did you still have someone else that needed to present before I open up
Thank
the
you,
public?
Mayor. Yes. Gianna will run us through, she has a much briefer presentation than me on, on the environmental impact report. Not that it.
But in the meantime, thank you for your presentation, Mr. Cooper. It was very informative.
Alrighty. Hello, everybody. Thank you, Brent, for introducing. My name is Gianna Meske. I'm with Rincon Consultants. We were hired by the city and Minter Harnish to support with the preparation of the Environmental Impact Report, or EIR, as I will be referring to it, for the general plan. So here is a brief agenda of what I will be running through today, just to give you kind of an overview. And Brent pretty much already introduced our team, so I will skip over that. So kind of jumping into CEQA, or the California Environmental Quality Act. To give a little bit of background, the general plan is required to comply with CEQA, and to start that process, the city determined that a program EIR was necessary to evaluate the impacts of the general plan. So the draft EIR provides an avenue to analyze the impacts of the project and discuss those impacts and disclose them to the public. So it also seeks to minimize, reduce, or avoid any significant environmental impacts, and also provides the city as a lead agency with a program to monitor and report mitigation measures to ensure that they are being followed. So here is a fun little flow chart that kind of shows the CEQA process from start to finish. And as you can see from here, we are pretty close to the finish line and an opportunity to have a decision being made on the final project. So going off of that, these are some specific milestones that the project has achieved to date. It kicked off in July 2022, and the first draft EIR was made public in September 2024. The public review period closed in November 2024, and the final EIR was completed just about a month ago. In late March, the Planning Commission made a recommendation to send this to council, which lands us here tonight. And then we anticipate one more city council hearing in May on the EIR to consider approval of the general plan and its EIR. So looking at the environmental analysis of the EIR itself, the draft EIR studied the following resource areas and covered a wide range of topics that are specifically required by CEQA. So you can see here these range from aesthetics to public services to wildfire and transportation. So within the analysis of the draft EIR, it was determined that 8 resource areas would have a less than significant impact with no mitigation required. Those are shown above. And additionally, it found that 2 resource areas would have no impacts, and those would be agriculture and forestry and mineral resources. Lastly, it was determined that 2 resource areas, noise and transportation, would result in significant and unavoidable impacts with regards to construction noise and vehicle miles traveled. So along with each section of the draft EIR, it was determined if mitigation would be required to reduce or avoid project impacts. Accordingly, 28 mitigation measures were set forth through the draft EIR. These reduce or avoid impacts to the following resource areas: aesthetics, air quality, biological resources, cultural resources, greenhouse gas emissions, noise, paleontological resources, and wildfire. So the draft EIR was made public during an 111-day public review period, which I have to say is one of the longest I think I've ever seen on a project, but I think is a real testament to the city's effort to acknowledge and accommodate all public commenters and ensure that their concerns were heard and incorporated into the final EIR. So the response to comment period allowed public agencies, stakeholder groups, and members of the public to comment on the draft EIR and its findings. In total, the city received 9 letters on the draft EIR, which were then carefully reviewed by the city. Comments and concerns raised by the public were then considered for incorporation into the draft, for edits into the draft EIR, apologies. This was done through a response to comments, which is included as section 2 of the final EIR, and revisions were then made according to the draft EIR in section 3 of the final EIR. So I do want to note that some of the comments that were received on the draft EIR did not address specific environmental issues or effects associated with the project or the adequacy of the analysis of the EIR. So accordingly, no additional analysis or response was required to these under CEQA, and it was acknowledged as so in the response to comments. So the revisions made to the final EIR resulted in minor revisions to the project description, environmental setting, biological resources, greenhouse gas emissions, and transportation. So these edits were all textual modifications. They helped clarify or expand upon language that was already included in the draft EIR. So accordingly, it was determined that these edits did not constitute significant new information and would not result in new significant impacts or a substantial increase in the severity of existing impacts identified within the draft EIR. So with that, we were able to determine that recirculation of the draft EIR was not warranted. So to wrap it up, as far as next steps, we really are, like I said, towards the end of the CEQA process, which we are currently in these final hearings, and then ultimately the project will be brought forward for consideration by City Council. So in the meantime, the city has complied with section 15091 of the CEQA guidelines, which requires that a public agency, prior to approving a project, identify significant impacts and make findings for one of each such impact. Additionally, the city has complied with section 21081.6 of the CEQA guidelines, which requires the preparation of a mitigation monitoring reporting program, which, as I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, helps to assess and ensure the implementation of proposed mitigations within the EIR. So lastly, once the project is approved by City Council, the city will prepare and file an NOD, or a Notice of Determination, with the State Clearinghouse and County Clerk within 5 working days of the project being approved, and then CEQA is finalized. So that is all that I had for you tonight. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Gianna. I think we have a question for you. Vice Mayor Joseph?
Yes. First, on the 2 significant impacts, the construction noise and vehicle miles traveled. The construction noise, as I read it, seemed to be more as it relates to actual construction, which in my head, I can acknowledge that that may be significant and unavoidable, but it's also temporary. You know, once the project's done, it goes away. And apparently that doesn't, I mean, in my head, that is a far less worrisome issue than a whole bunch of other things, because it is temporary and people get it and they may grumble, but they get that it's temporary. The other one is the vehicle miles traveled, and that's a bigger concern. Although it also harks back to the higher local policy. Things we can do to encourage more, you know, job housing balance, any of those things. I don't know if that would actually get us to the 19% reduction we need to, but you know, yeah. So that, I guess initially would be, what else can we do to work on the VMT issue?
All right, well, thank you, Councilmember Joseph. The vehicle miles traveled standard was adopted a couple of years ago, and it's a very, very high bar. The standard that was adopted was established within the state of California and is meant to be hard. And so suburban communities like ours, particularly when so many people have to commute to the East Bay to their jobs, and it makes it very, very difficult. If we all kind of lived in Berkeley and worked and lived there, you'd meet the standard, right? But we're not. So we can try as hard as we can, and we do have plans, you know, with bicycle, pedestrian. The Broadway District Plan itself was an effort to bring higher density housing within walking distance of restaurants and shops and transit, and we do have an industrial park that's not too far for a lot of people, connecting that with bicycles. If we could control the economy, which we cannot, it would be nice if Google would move here and people could then work there, who are now commuting to San Francisco. I mean,
Yeah.
but over time, business parks evolve. Certainly, you know, I've seen that in Orange County. Back in the 60s, that too was in the hinterland, and there were logistics warehouses down there, and over time, you know, they turned into R&D, and then they turned into offices, and things evolve over time. No reason to believe it wouldn't happen here. So there are circumstances and efforts that the city can do to help move it along, but the standard is very, very difficult to meet. It's just one of those things.
Okay, but we might also think about other ideas. Small, you know, right now, we did kind of develop as a typical suburban area. And so you have a whole bunch of houses, and then somewhere off you have the retail. So we might want to experiment with creating real small neighborhood retail modules that might be plunked in the middle of a residential area, just to kind of harken back to the days where you get on your bike and ride to the mini mart and get your bread and eggs and all that. So even though eggs are too expensive now. But so, you know, that's my main point, is I really do think we can do some creative stuff as we begin implementing this to chip away at that vehicle mile traveled element.
Yes.
The second one is I just needed some clarification as we jumped into the alternatives. Project alternatives, I think option 2 was, I think what were you referring to as the natural density, which I give credit to the city manager. I think he came up with that concept. And even though the alternative says it's not as good as the EIR, for purposes of saying somewhere down the road, for example, if we said, you know, maybe we do want to bump up some densities. You know, what is it? I think there was a phrase about diversity and density is maybe the way to go. Can we rely on the analysis of that alternative to say, hey, maybe it wasn't the best, but at least we considered it? So if we want to bump up the density of the town center, for example, that's an okay option, or what?
Yeah, so the alternative serves to give a reasonable range of alternatives for the city to consider. And if the city were to choose to look into one of those, that is an option. The EIR doesn't necessarily evaluate the impacts of said alternative at such a granular level as the EIR does. So it's a starting point, I suppose you could say, to start and look at improving or increasing densities.
Okay, so we can't just say, hey, look, we thought about it, therefore it's okay.
No, not necessarily.
Not that easy,
There's
at
a little
least.
more that needs to be going into it. But.
All right.
Vice Mayor, the process would be an addendum to the environmental impact report. Whether it's that amendment or any other, having a baseline environmental impact report does give us the opportunity to consider amendments to land uses and things, and then it's compared with the impacts in the general plan, and then there are standards for levels of significance.
Okay. All right.
And so there are pathways to consider alternatives.
That's what I'm doing. I'm always considering alternatives, and I appreciate the comments. Like I said, I'm excited that we're this close, and I don't want to do anything to mess up the schedule.
Okay, no other clarifying questions. I'll open it up to public comment for item number 9. Do we have any cards?
Yep, I sure do.
We have cards first.
Yvonne Baginski. Oh, sorry. You got to do your card.
Good evening. I have a few questions. This is my third general plan hearing. Thank you, Mr. Cooper. If it's in if the space, like the Paoli Watson, is in a sphere of influence, I've noticed that you've already rezoned it. Can that be rezoned even though it's not annexed? That's a question I have.
Easy one.
Okay.
Before, part of the annexation process requires cities to what's called pre-zone land that would be annexed. And the reason for that is the local agency formation commission, LAFCO, their mission is to prevent sprawl. So they want to know what the city's plans are for the area that would become annexed. So it's actually a necessary component of the annexation process.
Thank you. What's missing in this plan, which is concerning to me, is that there is no conservation component. I looked at general plans from cities throughout California, and just like Councilmember Joseph had mentioned, there is a specific chapter that would be associated with just conservation. I would recommend, especially with the Green Island Vineyard recent SOI, that conservation and habitat preservation be added to this general plan. Right now, GIV isn't even in the general plan, so I don't want us to lose sight of it, because I know that whenever I come before you guys, it's always, well, it's already in the general plan, so let's take a look at how that's going to go in. Again, I recommend that we look at the open space. One of my concerns is that creeks and engaging streets were specified as being open space. I am aware that creeks are often in open space, but I'm not aware of creeks just designated as open space, especially in areas where there's between warehouses or in residential areas where there's absolutely no public access to them at all. I'd like to see a map of what open space is actually available. And again, back to developing a local conservation plan for wildlife habitat and open space as a policy in this general plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Yvonne.
Mayor, could I respond to that, please?
Yes.
There are, let me see. We have, let's see. In the environment element, there is a specific section that has a graphic depicting open space. Open space is a term that has a lot of meanings. And so it really depends upon your definition and the policies that go with it that matter. But there are a variety of policies in the general plan that do address issues associated with open space. including ENV-5.2, in open space funding, encourage partnering with community groups and neighboring jurisdictions to identify grant opportunities to maintain, enhance, expand open space and recreational opportunities. The next one, interjurisdictional open space coordination, open space access. There are a variety: urban open space, surplus Caltrans, urban trails, trail construction. There are quite a few policies. What may be missing in some people's mind is the plan. The general plan itself is much like the way in which there was a desire for an ordinance to prohibit gas station expansion. Before you can come up with the detailed plan, you have to have the policies in the general plan. So if the council would like to pursue a program to do any of these things, you can do so because there are policies in the general plan. The distinction is the general plan itself isn't the implementation, isn't the program. A lot of those programs, as we know, the devil's in the details. How are you going to do it? Who's going to pay for it? Where will it be? All of those things are very, very important and detailed issues. You won't find them in the general plan necessarily, but you do have policies that would say that this is an appropriate endeavor to pursue if that is among your priorities. Does that make sense, kind of the distinctions?
Yeah, that was helpful. That was helpful.
No, I'm
Councilmember
confused.
Oral?
Yeah, so while we're on this topic, I know we're on public comment, but I just, the comment from a member of the public was about conservation planning, not necessarily definition of open space. And so talk to us a little bit about why a conservation plan isn't in a general plan, or how can we get a conservation plan in a general plan. I just need to understand that distinction, and I think the public needs to understand that distinction.
Sure. Thank you, Councilmember Oro. The general plan includes policies that discuss the value of preserving open space. Conservation is a form of open space. It's for biotic value, I would assume. I'm not an expert. But there are policies in here so that if the council did want to pursue a conservation plan, you could do so. It wouldn't be in the general plan itself. It would be an implementing program adopted by resolution that may have implications for fee programs or a host of actions that are too detailed to put in the general plan itself.
So we've heard multiple requests to protect open space and land. Are you saying that is not part of a general plan?
There are policies that say that if you were to pursue that, the general plan has policies to support it.
So just to be clear, there is no policy to say that you must protect this certain piece of land. You have to create a plan for that, which is not part of the general plan.
Correct. The general plan allows you to consider establishing a conservation plan if you wanted to do that.
And that action would have to take by the city council after the general plan is adopted.
Correct.
Okay.
These are subsequent implementing actions, of which there is a whole lot of things that you could do. And that's
So the
among
request for a conservation plan would come after the general plan is adopted.
Correct.
Okay, just trying to be clear.
Right, and there are a lot of different ways of implementing these. That is one of them. There could be others. That's why you need to have time to consider how and when, and if that's what you want to do.
City Attorney, you had a comment?
Yes, just I'd like to reemphasize the structure of the general plan that's before you. I would emphasize it a little bit differently than Brent has. There's a mandatory duty to implement these goals and policies. Implementations, for the record, it's Government Code Section 65-103, 104, and it's been consistently supported by general plan guidelines provisions that are used to explain how that takes place, but If there's to be a specific, say, habitat conservation plan, that would be part of the mandatory duties of implementing a policy. So the structure's there to provide for what the public comment raised as maybe a higher level for the plan itself. But because the plan has mandatory provisions for implementation, you as a council choose a whole variety of ways in which that implementation can take place.
Okay, thank you. Vice Mayor?
A couple of things. Following up on the discussion and having, and demonstrating that I did make it through this 1,200-page document, if you go to page 843 and you look at policy S-3.11, flood protection by wetlands. The policy is coordinate with resource agencies to preserve and restore wetlands in the western areas of the city to mitigate the effects of sea level rise and flood impacts. So arguably you could say we want to implement that by looking at trying to secure some lands, may or may not be in our city, maybe in our sphere of influence, that might be preserved as open space for purposes of flood control and flood protection. So just as just to kind of apply the abstract to, yes, go to this page. So if we did want to pursue something along those lines, there's plenty of ammunition in the general fund to justify what we're trying to do. So that's my first thing. And then I did find a couple of minor issues. If you go to page 798, ENV-5.9 talks about surplus Caltrans right-of-way, says work with Caltrans to use vacant surplus properties for park and open space purposes. Can we put into that surplus properties for public, park and open space purposes?
Of course we can.
Hey, and your fire chief may thank you for it. And then the last one, as I joked with the city manager, somebody's got to be Diane Dillon, and that's me today. On page 790, no, that's not it. It's this one. On page 850, egads, I'm not doing a good job. I am not, Diane Dillon would not give me any kudos at this point. But if you go to page 769, Goal U6, climate change adaptation, 6.1 is climate change vulnerability assessment. It appears that there should have been a 6.2 critical infrastructure adaptation, and somebody forgot to do the formatting. And so now Diane would be happy with me. That ought to be 6.2, and 6.2 should be 3, and so on.
Okay. Thank you very much. So you've improved the general plan.
That's all I wanted to demonstrate, is I really did go through this thing.
Right, and actually, we've had comments not unlike yours about other aspects of people looking at that. We need a lot of eyes on this.
Yeah.
And not only for areas where there may be typos or format, but content as well.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And this one is more format, but okay, thank you.
And not to jump on the vice mayor's bandwagon, but I do realize that there was nothing in there about actual wildlife, and that was something that I know that I spoke with Ms. Beniski about in the past as well.
Okay.
To specifically name wildlife in our document as well. But we are in open public comment, and I don't want to take away from the public comment, so I want to kind of return to the next speaker for public comment. And that would be Madam Clerk.
Chris Benz.
Ms. Benz.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name's Chris Benz, and I'm with Napa Climate Now. It was very heartening to review the climate change and air quality section of the general plan update. We recognize that the current federal administration will not be any help in achieving our emission reduction goals, and instead may put up roadblocks. If progress is to be made, it will need to be made locally, and the policies listed in the climate change section will do this. Thank you. We sent in written comments giving information about a new protocol that will allow you to accurately value the initiatives to reduce direct and indirect GHG emissions that are described in policy ENV 9.1. And speaking of ways to reduce GHG emissions, I would like to invite all of you and your staff and the audience to tomorrow evening's program, Napa County on the Move, a plan to make our travel safer and greener, hosted by the Napa County League of Women Voters and Napa Climate Now. The program will start at 6 p.m. at the Napa Valley Unitarian Universalist Church on Salvador Avenue in Napa. Councilmember Oro is one of our presenters, and Supervisor Ramos will be our moderator. I hope to see you there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Benz.
Jim Wilson.
Thank you, Council. I'm Jim Wilson, Napa, grandfather, member of Napa Climate Now Steering Committee, and advisor to Napa Schools for Climate Action. It's good to see you all. I would first of all like to thank Brent Cooper for his generous responses to Napa Climate Now's comments that we sent in for the Planning Commission hearing a while back. I hope you had a chance to read those. He copied you on those. I won't have time tonight to review those. But I do want to first of all point out a real short chronology of what's going on in the Valley. I'm from Napa, but I'm a member of the county and I'm a member of this planet. It is global warming we're talking about. And like Council Member Joseph, I too get a little antsy when I don't see climate and economic development thereby prioritized. As an organizing principle, we can say we have an opportunity here to think and do things differently because of the climate budget we have. You guys have been instrumental in getting the word out. This youth group came to you right after they presented to Calistoga. They asked for climate emergency resolution. They got it, and you embraced them. And you assigned a couple of those students to your ad hoc Climate Action Plan Committee. You guys came back, you committee members, Mayor of Washington and Council Member Joseph came back on time in August of 2022 and said, here it is. And the council approved your work and said, let's go out into the community. You chose the schools, first of all, to do this. I've been teaching in NVUSD schools climate responsibility now for 10 years here in American Canyon High School, for example. And the schools embraced your message. You had a big rally, and that's where it took off across the valley, your message. You handed the message off to OSATs. You presented to them the same as you presented to the schools. That is the organizing principle. We're in a climate emergency. We have until 2030 to achieve net zero climate pollution, to avoid or postpone irreversible climate damage. And so we go into that elsewhere in our comments to you. But I just wanted to say one thing. In element 7, which is environment, parks, and recreation, please take a look at page Environment 31, climate change and air quality. The goal, Environment 9, conduct decisive near-term action to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in American Canyon. Policy 9.2, intergovernmental cooperation, thereby work with Napa County jurisdictions together with community organizations, businesses, schools, regional partners, and jurisdictions to educate, mobilize, expand, and accelerate local, regional, and statewide support for comprehensive, immediate, and sustained action. That is out of your climate emergency resolution. It's missing one piece, and I would like to ask you to add, to finish that sentence, to achieve the goal of net zero climate pollution by before 2030. City of Napa had to do the same thing without any delays or cause their EIR to be recirculated. I'd appreciate your taking a look. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
Hugh Marquez.
Hi, Hugh Marquez. I had a couple of questions. I was on the committee that looked for traffic mitigation when they were trying to make a a road from the warehouses onto Eucalyptus Drive. And I was on that committee to find out what was supposed to happen with that. The committee came to the city council and asked that that not go through, and the city council approved that at the time. My question is I see the road going down to Fran's house, right down the row, and on that committee, we had one of the family members of the Couch, which all that is their property. And we've taken a lot of their property. The city has. And I distinctly remember Mr. Couch saying that where that line is not where he wanted the road to go, because that's where their house is. That's the only house they have left, I think, with all the property they ever had. And he had offered a easement between splitting where the paintball park is and the land was. He offered an easement to go across, so that way his house would be saved. And I see this Woodside connector, and this is not what we recommended at the time. I, with the committee, initially recommended that the road go right over the top. It'd go through the easement he offered and over the top. We now have a winery there and stuff. That's not going to happen. So when I see this, I wonder if when that traffic committee made their recommendations, if they were taken fully, because I remember when we came to city council and we gave our recommendation, and part of the recommendation was using that easement to make the road go through. The Couches were all for it. They're already mad that they've given property up and it hasn't been used appropriately in their mind. So I hope that can be looked into. I don't know about the expense. All I know is that they offered an easement on the far side so they could keep their home next to the paintball park, and that's not what I see here. The other part is we talk about housing and traffic and miles traveled, and I believe our general plan at one time had commercial over residential going down Broadway. I believe so. I may be wrong. I see Mark shaking, looking, and he's been here long enough to know. But I've talked to Brent about this also. And when we're talking about traffic miles traveled, I would hope the city council would consider some commercial over housing, so that way the people can go right down below and eat or get what they want. So I hope that can be considered in the future. I don't know if that can be done later on, but I think that is something that the city council should look into. Thank you.
Thank you, Hugh.
Catherine Bitt.
Mr. Cooper, you had a response?
Okay, quick. Yes, thank you. I won't take long. With respect to the West Side Connector, I can go back. It was back in 2021. I'll go back and review in detail the decisions of the city council, which, while it was a decision, it wasn't an adoption. There's a distinction there. But I'll go back and affirm what was authorized or approved at the time and provide you an update. With respect to housing over commercial or commercial over housing, that is permitted today in most areas of the Broadway district. It's already in place. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like developers are very eager to do it, but if they did want to do it, the plan will allow them. We just can't make them do it. And if we did, then we may have more vacant properties longer.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper.
Catherine Bitt.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Catherine Bitt, and I'm a current junior at American Canyon High School. I'm also the current co-vice president of Napa Schools for Climate Action, which is a student-led group that advocates for youth climate justice and awareness. And I'm here tonight to comment on behalf of the youth as City Council proceeds to make revisions to the American Canyon General Plan. Previously, in 2022, the American Canyon City Council passed a climate emergency resolution and made a pledge to reach net zero climate pollution by or before 2030. Will American Canyon remain true to that commitment in our new general plan? 2030 is a scientific threshold for preventing the worst effects of our climate crisis and is crucial to consider and prioritize as we begin to outline our city's future. Currently, our city's interim climate action plan has been placed on hold. There is no better time than now to begin recognizing the need for emergency scale action and courageously communicate the urgency of immediate climate action. This has been a frequent and consistent request of Napa Schools for Climate Action. Recently, we have advocated for the general plan to remain true to our 2030 net zero target to the American Can Planning Commission, the OSATS Commission, and during strategic planning workshops. Back in 2023, I felt empowered to begin my advocacy work when I participated in a rally of over 800 students at ACHS who were honored for our collective success in the Napa County Climate Challenge. The student engagement that led to our success showed that our city had the same 2030 goal as NBUSD. Our achievements through this challenge prove the impact that the rising generations can have when enabled through the accessibility to appropriate resources and circumstances. A general plan doesn't only outline our city's future, but it also outlines and significantly impacts the futures of our youth in American Canyon. Your leadership is needed now more than ever as low ambition impacts our mental health and safety. We are at a critical moment in time where it's imperative that we, as a city and community, pursue emergency scale action consistent with our general plan goal of achieving 2030 net zero climate pollution by or before 2030. Please consider making the 2030 goal clear in the general plan. Thank you all for your time and understanding.
Thank you, Ms. Bitt.
I have no other cards, and there is no one online.
No one online? Don't see any hands up. Mr. Cooper? Did you have something else?
No, I'm ready in case there is any final questions from council.
Okay. If there's no more questions, I'll close public comment on item number 9 and return to council for any statements or questions. I know this is my understanding that this is just a read and file information. Vice Mayor Joseph.
Yes. A couple of things. On the West Side Connector, Brent, when you go back and do the research, what I'd like to do is when you come back to report that we might also want to talk about the West Side Connector, because there's a lot of other elements in play. For example, there's the old quarry site that we might want to look at ways of achieving a connection without having to write a check for $10 or $15 million in doing it, so that there may be opportunities to leverage that site. So I guess my point is, when you do the research, come back, and I'd like the item to be open-ended enough that we can have some general discussion about alternatives. And then secondly, on the 2030 deadline, as I've talked to people, I recognize that this is a document that's linked to state standards, and the state standard is, net neutrality by 2045 and so on. On the other hand, I think we already achieved the 1.5 degrees Celsius in 2025 or 2024. So there's a part of me that says the 2030 deadline was to avoid that, and we're already there. So it's almost like saying we should have achieved it last year and we didn't. So now we're kind of like in overtime. And I think instead of getting caught up on should it be 2030 or 2045, it should really be as soon as possible, because the deadline already happened last year. I don't know how you put that into language, but for what it's worth, that's kind of my attitude, that we ought to be doing whatever we can do as soon as we can do it, because, like I said, we already passed go and we don't get to collect our $200. No, we're going to jail and we don't collect our $200. So it's a challenge because it's basically an inherently futile attitude. It's already too late, but let's keep trying. So that's where I'm at. I don't know how to translate that into policy or direction, but that's kind of where I'm at.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I don't think there's any more statements for you, Mr. Cooper, so you've done your job, so thank you. So we'll be reading and file this report, and then we're going to move on to the next business item.
Okay,
So
well,
thank
thank
you.
you. I appreciate everybody's feedback and input. It improves the general plan. It makes it better. It's for all of us, and I appreciate everybody reading through everything and their thoughtful comments.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper. The next item is item number 10, the fiscal year 2025-2026 strategic plan, or work plan. And Mr. Hawley?
Thank you, Mayor. Just trying to flip forward in my binder. Takes us all the way to page 1260. The item tonight is proposed to be the finalization of work that the City Council and staff have been busy on in February and March. We had 2 strategic planning sessions, lengthy 6-hour sessions. That were open to the public, and we did have members of the public participating. In that strategic planning session, we evaluated current plans, came up with new ideas, and really worked to come up with a document that will guide myself and city staff really over the next 12 to 18 months is kind of the timeframes that we're looking at. So if you move forward into, I'll call it page, well, we'll take a step back and say all of this strategic planning is done kind of, it's done kind of in a hierarchy, and I was looking for that picture, which I think I inadvertently excluded from, from the packet. But there's a hierarchy of vision, mission, values, goals, strategies, and key initiatives. And what we've been focused on the last 2 sessions is really around our key initiatives and some modifications to strategies and to coming up with that work plan for myself and the city staff team. And so that's, the staff report elaborates what the city's mission statement is, and as well as the vision statement. Thank you. It is on page 1272. Thank you, Bill. So this is the graphic that I'm talking about on page 1272, and it illustrates the hierarchy of our strategic planning efforts. And this is was work that was done starting in 2012, concluded in 2014, and it continues to guide us today. And like I mentioned, we worked on strategies and milestones in the last 2 sessions. And what I did, if you remember from our last session, we actually had a voting exercise, and we did some work around prioritization. What I did since that time was to take your input, and I didn't get rid of anything. So nobody got voted off the island based on priority or anything else. There were some areas where I consolidated some things because we were saying the same thing in 2 spots, so we consolidated some of that. And we found a way to fold all of those into the strategic work plan. And there's some distinctions there on terminology. So the strategic plan itself is really the high-level vision, mission, values, and goals. And then the strategic work plan is really meant to refer to those lower-level things, strategies and milestones, the things that are going to guide myself and my team's work. It's our work plan to then implement. So that's the terminology that we're using. And we didn't remove anything from how the voting kind of sorted out. It was meant to be more of a qualitative perspective for me to understand where individual council members and the whole council's priorities were. So all of the items that you see starting on page 1264 are things that we talked about and I included. I didn't strike anything off other than the stuff we already noted in those sessions that were done. Those things have gone away. But what you may notice is a little bit of refinement around the milestones. And what I did around the milestones was to actually put some common language around what the milestone might be in the next 12 to 18 months. And that was something like council review and comment, council approval, project out to bid, the notice of completion, those sorts of things. We did add in key initiatives, specifically the projects. The council asked to actually include all of the CIP projects in here because we previously just had a line item that said do projects. Well, that doesn't really begin to tell the story of a $30 million CIP. So we listed all of those projects, which is why this list got longer. But we put those corollary milestones that say out to bid or notice of completion and that sort of thing. So that's how we sort of adjusted that. Each page is meant to be, there's 8 pages here in the strategic work plan, which aligns with each of our 8 goals. And then there's a variety of strategies. That's what the blue lines are. And then there are key initiatives after that. So again, we added the projects, we've clarified the milestones, consolidated but not deleted any of the things that we talked about as a council. We'll be using the prioritization exercise as a way of kind of prioritizing how these things will unfold and when to, when I'm presented with an idea about how to pursue something next, higher priority things are going to get my attention first, obviously, and lesser priority things will have a lesser attention. But we'll be continuing this feedback with the council. I think is the last bit I want to conclude with is this becomes the work plan for the next 12 to 18 months, subject to periodic check-ins, both on a personal basis as you evaluate my performance, but also as an organizational basis as we update you quarterly on different areas of the operation, including after I'm done talking, we're going to be getting an update on our Park and Recreation department. So we do the kind of public quarterly evaluations, the private quarterly evaluations with me, and then the public evaluations with different aspects of the organization where you get to see and share that information publicly, along with our capital projects and things like that. So that's how the check-in happens. This isn't a see now and see you in 12 to 18 months. It's really every other meeting or so you're going to start to get an update on different things as we've been doing. So I'm happy to answer any questions. If there's changes to this work plan, those 8 pages, certainly we're up for making those changes, or if I've misconstrued something perhaps, we're up for those changes as well.
Thank you, Mr. Holly. Vice Mayor Joseph.
Just sorry, I'm monopolizing the conversation tonight. Overall, very happy with the format, with the plan. As I mentioned, format, it might help to distinguish between all the various items if there was a bullet point or something. So again, this is my Diane Dillon moment, and so that's my comment on that. The other one is I just wanted to highlight, and unfortunately Jim Wilson and Chris Benz and the students are gone, but we did adopt the environmental sustainability goal last year. We've now implemented some key initiatives, and I'm going to run through them real quickly. Researching methodology to track our carbon footprint at the city facilities, properly dispose of waste at city facilities, recycling types, prepare the regional shoreline adaptation plan to protect against sea level rise, increase community usage of Napa County Climate Challenge app, work with BayREN and others to promote retrofitting older homes to be more energy efficient, adopt the Napa County-wide Regional Climate Action and Adaptation Plan, or RCAP, and analyze urban limit line from an environmental perspective. And I think it's important to recognize that, even though sometimes we're not happy with the decisions that are made, we're still trying to deal with the environmental impacts. We're still trying to make things happen and do the right thing. And so it's a never-ending fight, not unlike the general plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Any other questions? Seeing none, I'd like to open it up to public comment for item number 10.
I have no cards and no one online.
Okay. No public comment for item 10. I'd like to close public comment on item 10 and return to council for additional statement questions or an adoption of the minute.
All right. No other questions. I move that we adopt a minute order approving the FY 2025-26 strategic work plan.
Need a second?
I'll second.
Have a second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Cruz?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamatina?
Yes.
Councilmember Oro?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Joseph?
Yes.
Mayor Washington?
Yes. The next and final business item is item number 11, Park and Recreations Department update by Ali Akita.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Alexandra Ikeda, your Parks and Recreation Director. And I'm here this evening to provide our update to you on all the wonderful things that we've done in 2024. So this report is going to be from January 1st to December 31st. So before we get started, we just want to go do a brief overview. You're going to meet the team, guiding principals, program registration, facility rentals, volunteer programs, community nonprofits, community events, open spaces, and looking forward. So the Parks and Recreation Department is staffed by one full-time recreation manager, Alana Ben. She's been with our department for quite some time, and so we're super excited to have her in that position. And then four full-time recreation coordinators, 2 administrative clerks, and various part-time staff who are directly tied to our programs and services. And they are managed and overseen by myself. Our team takes great pride in serving the American Canyon community. Here is a video to show why we love what we do.
We are passionate and dedicated.
We are innovative. We are champions of diversity, equity, and inclusion.
We are compassionate.
We are stewards and advocates.
We are leaders.
We are essential.
We are fun.
We are committed to you.
We are Parks and Recreation.
So I have to tell you, we did have a little fun making that video. This video was specifically created for our Citizens Academy for the high school, and I was going to use some other organization's generic video, and I was like, nope, absolutely not, we can do this. And so my team, they are, anytime we have a creative idea, they are definitely good sports, and so I'm super proud of that video, and I'm glad we were able to share it with you today. So like the video shows, we are very passionate professionals within the Parks and Recreation field, and there's so much more than what we do. We promote physical and emotional and mental health through our organized and self-directed fitness, play, and activities that we offer, and providing a safe place to run, bike, and hike on our miles of trails and in our 2 very beautiful open spaces. We strengthen our community's identity by providing facilities and services that reflect and celebrate our community's diversity and its character. And we foster social cohesiveness by celebrating diversity, promoting a space to come together peacefully, modeling compassion, promoting social equity, and connecting people and social networks. We create memorable experiences for everyone here in American Canyon, and we meet the multi-generational needs of our community. And we sustain and steward our natural resources by protecting habitats and sensitive species within our open spaces and connecting people with nature and promoting ecological function of our parklands. And we support economic vitality by partnering with our local businesses and nonprofit organizations. In 2022, the city invested in CivicRec, which is our registration platform. It was probably the best investment, in my opinion, in our department because it's really helped us track our activity. And as you can see, the growth over the last 3 years of when we've implemented that registration, we went from about 5,400 household accounts all the way up to about 12,500 accounts. And of those accounts, we have 7,219 that are American Canyon resident homes. And then additionally, in 2024, we've had 14,658 individuals participating in a program or service that we have offered to the community. Additionally, we have our beautiful facility rentals, which we maintain, which are popular for to host birthday parties, reunions, and other special gatherings. In 2024, we've had 120 picnic reservations, 80 building reservations, and 924 field reservations. That number does include the reservations that we have with our community youth groups, like AC Athletico, AC Little League, and the AC Wolves. We recognize the importance of our volunteers and how they help make our community the best place to live, work, and play. We offer a wide variety of volunteer opportunities, and throughout 2024, we've offered 14 volunteer programs or opportunities for you to volunteer. And we've worked alongside 124 volunteers, which is equating to 615 volunteer hours. And our nonprofits, it's important to highlight them. We work with 44 different nonprofit organizations. Just in this past year, we have assisted and supported them with 49 community events that have benefited this community. And additionally, we have provided 208 facility rental hours at no charge, and we have provided 1,555 field reservation hours at no charge to our youth sports groups. Community events play a vital role in bringing people together, fostering connections, and celebrating our rich diversity. Our events honor the traditions, heritage, and stories of our residents, past and present, and we create lasting memories and have a deeper sense of belonging for everyone here in American Canyon. As you can see from this, Magic of the Season, which is our signature event, we've actually grown that event to about 2,000 people in attendance. It went from recovering back from COVID. There was a little time there where we were not offering events, but you'll see that growth. We have our volunteer appreciation event that's actually coming up next Saturday, April 26th at the Doubletree. We had 94 individuals attend that event last year. And then our S'mores and Meteors, you've seen the growth of that. That is down at the wetlands. That is a specialized event where we actually bring out scientists with their telescopes, and we actually look at meteors and planets. And then we eat s'mores, and there's an opportunity to do silent disco. So it really is a very unique event that we have in wetlands that goes from about 8 o'clock to 11 o'clock, and it's just a specialized thing. And then we have our Water Carnival. Again, this is a special event at our Philip West Aquatic Center where we do a lot of fun activities that are carnival-like for participants to be able to participate in. I've started up Donuts with Santa, and I really wanted to highlight July 4th celebration. I don't think these numbers are truly accurate because when you look at the July 4th celebration, we have people spread out through the entire city, and this just captures Community Park too. It doesn't capture people in the neighborhoods or surrounding streets or over at the middle school or down at the wetlands watching the fireworks. And this really is a regional draw for us. We do have people come all across I guess the East Bay, Solano, Sonoma counties. We've even had people from Denmark. Last year we had visiting individuals from Denmark. They were in San Francisco. They wanted to experience a true American firework celebration, and we popped up when they Googled us, and they drove all the way in from San Francisco to watch that. So that was truly incredible. So you can just see how popular this event is and just the growth and putting us on the regional map. And then we also have our Pull Pumpkin Patch Splash. Barktoberfest was brand new last year. That was something that we wanted to do in our park, a dog-friendly event. I think it's pretty successful with 400 individuals that brought down their best friends. And then we have Coastal Cleanup Day, which is in partnership with the California Coastal Commission. So we are so fortunate to be able to have two beautiful open spaces that border American Canyon. And it's really interesting to see how these spaces are no longer our little treasures. They really have become regional draws. In 2024, the wetlands has received 69,800 visitors, which equates to about 191 people per day. And then the Newell Open Space has had 8,200 people, which equates to about 23 people per day. And again, it's really interesting to see the demographics of that and where people are coming from. We can say that we do have people coming out that do not live here in American Canyon that are experiencing, they have found us, and they really are enjoying the wetlands and Newell Open Space. So in 2025, we're so excited to share what we have planned. We've talked about the Volunteer Appreciation Event. We are going to be focusing on Water Safety Month this year, which is in May. It's extremely important to educate our community about how to be safe in and around aquatic environments, especially backyard and HOA pools. Drowning is the second leading cause of death of children under the age of 14. And we really want to help educate our community on how to be safe at home and teach their children to be safe in and around aquatic environments. Then we have our Memorial Day ceremony, which is going to be taking place over at Veterans Park at 11 a.m. We have our Pride flag raising ceremony. This is in partnership with the Napa Connections LGBTQ+ community. And this is where we will be raising the Pride flag out here at City Hall on May 30th in recognition and celebration of that. And then we have our July 4th celebration at Community Park 2 on July 4th. We also have some pretty big projects, two that we are buttoning up here really shortly. We have our facility naming process. This is where we are going to be renaming Community Park 1, Community Park 2, and the former Napa Junction Elementary School. We plan to bring those items to this body as the joint session with PCS on June 17th to have that conversation. And then also another project that I'm excited to see across the finish line, which is the Newell Open Space Management Plan. And this too will be brought to this body with OSATs at the joint special meeting on June 17th. Once we end projects, we start new ones. That's just the cycle and the nature of what we do. And so we've just kicked off the process of doing our Parks and Community Services Master Plan. Again, this is an update to the current 2011 Master Plan that we have. We have partnered with our consultant, RRM, and they will be meeting with both OSATs and PCS and explaining everything master plan and what a master plan is and what we're going to be focusing on and the timeline, and that's going to go to those bodies in May at those meetings. There will be lots of community engagement opportunities. This process does take about 18 to 24 months, and we do have a plan to engage the community in different ways and elements to get their feedback. So I would like to thank you for your time tonight, and that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Allie. Good presentation. You had an amazing year, and I actually want to say thank you for putting some faces to your team. That was really helpful, really nice of you to, give them some props. Any clarifying questions from council before I open up the public comment? Seeing none, I'd like to open this up to item number 11 for public comment, if there's any.
I just have a quick question. How do you know how many people, how do you count them when they go out the wetlands or over to Newell?
Great question. So we have this new application that we've invested in for the last 2 years. It's called Placer AI, and it is a tracking mechanism, so it uses telephone. So that's what I'm saying, even those numbers aren't really the most accurate because there are people out there that don't have phones or don't have their tracking location on. There's a lot of kids out there that don't have children. So that is a tool that we use, and we're able to figure out where they've come from and where they go afterwards. So it's really a great tool to be able to see, especially in our parks, who's utilizing them and the demographics and the age and where they're coming from and where they go after. So some people like to go to In-N-Out, some people like to go to Taco Bell, like all those different things. It's very fascinating.
Vice Mayor, did you have a question?
I was curious about where they go afterwards, and as an ex-finance director, of course, are they going to any American Canyon restaurants and gassing up and all that?
Yes, Taco Bell is my favorite location, and it pops up quite frequently. Chicken Guy, I mean, all the, they do go to Walgreens and things like that. So you do see their activity of where they come from, and then they visit, and then where they go.
Perfect. Well, it's great. I mean, obviously, it's a great thing, and I'm really impressed at the numbers at Wetlands. They're just phenomenal. I think that was the positive of the pandemic. I think everybody discovered the wetlands. So it's great that there's that much action, and it's even better that they show up and spend a few bucks here.
Yep.
Good. Thank you.
Well, if there's no more, is there anybody online for questions? No?
No, I have no questions.
If there's no more public questions, I'd like to close public comment on item number 11, return to council for any additional statements or questions. This is just a receive and file?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's move on to our management and staff oral reports, Mr. Holly.
That's all we have, Mayor. Thank you.
That's it. Okay, we'll move on to our city council comments and committee reports. Vice Mayor.
The only thing I wanted to highlight is, what was it, last Friday, that the mayor and myself were amongst many other people that showed up for John Riley's retirement party. He has been kind of a institution in local labor relations, and his departure, I think, will be missed, but it was wonderful to be there and to wish him well. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is tomorrow, from 11 to 3, Napa Valley Transportation Authority is having their annual retreat, which is really kind of a workshop on the upcoming community transportation plan. So if you're going to swing by the On the Move in the evening, you may want to just make a whole day of in Napa, spend the afternoon with the NVTA, and the evening with On the Move. So just to schedule your dates.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilmember David Oro.
Well, On the Move is the real show's going to be. I'm speaking there, so make sure you get to that.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I actually have a lot to report, but I'm going to save some time and put that in a written report on my next one. Apologize for not getting in. I was traveling last week for business.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember LaMattina.
I have nothing to report.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilmember Cruz.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Had a few things. Let's see. So, Councilmember David Oro and I, we attended the Fire District Association of California Leadership Symposium. So we were able to hear some keynote speakers and, of course, engage with some fire executives. And then interim assistant city manager Juan Gomez and I, we were at ACHS, American Canyon High School. We're judges for young entrepreneurs who presented business plans. I think that was a great thing. We did that in collaboration with, of course, the Chamber of Commerce with Valerie. And lastly, number 3, in the future, myself and City Manager Jason Hawley will be going to the Leadership Summit in Sacramento. We look forward to things that we can glean from that leadership symposium. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I have no additional comments to my report. I did submit it. We'll move on to future agenda items for anyone on council. Any future agenda items you'd like to bring up?
I have a few. I haven't put in many in a while. So first, I would be interested in hearing a presentation from the Audubon Society because I think it might be informational. And I would like to get an update on the recycled water fill project because I'm going to be looking around for some recycled water myself, so it's a little self-interest. And then the last one that's more of an issue is to bring back some consideration of the composition of the Airport Land Use Commission. We had talked about it as part of the compatibility plan, and the response was it's really kind of the mayor's committee that decides that. So I'd like to bring it back at some point for the council to consider and talk about changing the composition, frankly, to allow for a representative from American Canyon to be on that commission.
Do you need us to?
Yeah, so let's talk about those unless there are others, other future agenda items. Let's kind of take these one at a time. We will need official action. So Audubon Society, I'm assuming there's a there's a first and someone else will second it, and we can get a vote on the Audubon Society and have an opportunity for them to come present to you all. So let's go through that procedure first.
Okay.
I'm pretty clear on what that is and who to contact.
I'll make a motion to add that onto a future agenda.
I'll second.
We have a second. Can we get a roll call?
Sorry, let me just.
We just do a voice vote, or?
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
It's, sorry. Councilmember Cruz?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamattina?
Yes.
Councilmember Oro?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Joseph?
Yes.
Mayor Washington?
Yes.
So on the recycled fuel station, I don't know if this is necessarily an agenda item for council. I think I'm going to go get the information from staff, share it with you all, share it with the community, and I don't know that we'll need to get an actual council item going.
I would agree.
And then the ALUCP, ALUC, Airport Land Use Commission, is body right now that's at the county level. So we have sent the county a letter already. It's not, there isn't a city appointment. It's not a city appointment where we appoint folks. We have an interpretation about how that commission should be staffed. We've sent the county communication on that. It may be something that we bring up at the 2x2. The next time the South County 2x2 gets together, there might be an opportunity to kind of pitch our position to those two supervisors there. It would be odd for us to nominate somebody to a county commission that we don't nominate anyone to, is kind of my point.
Yeah.
I think I'm on that committee.
Yeah,
I have been for 9 years and I've never met.
What?
I don't think it's ever met. I think I'm on, there's a committee that we've been assigned to.
There used to be an airport 2x2 that probably never met. This is the Airport Land Use Commission.
Oh, the commission,
Yeah,
no,
and it came about through updating the plan where there was a discussion. Actually, I made the suggestion that we take advantage of the state provision that allows it to be at least 2 representatives from nearby cities. And the response was, they don't have authority over that. I think it's the mayor's selection committee or somebody.
Yeah, we have an interpretation about how that commission should be staffed. The county has an interpretation that says back in the 70s they followed the procedure and they're going to continue to follow that procedure despite things being markedly different now. In essence, what you're talking about is a political situation. So what we would need to do is to convince some of our supervisors of our particular position and have them look to go through the process of considering how that commission should be set up. And so that's why I was suggesting our entree into that conversation might be with the 2 folks who we meet with as part of the South County 2x2, and that's you, Mark, Vice Mayor Joseph, and Councilmember Oro. Sit on that. We could put that on the agenda for their next meeting, although we don't have that one scheduled yet.
Yeah, okay, that would be good. I just wanted to get that ball rolling.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
You done, Vice Mayor? Yeah. Oh, no other future agenda items. We have concluded our business for this evening with 9 minutes to spare. We are adjourned. Good night, American Canyon.